The three-eyed demon woman's attack completely ignored my soul power and directly affected my consciousness. My consciousness was in pain and I couldn't control my divine body temporarily, but my soul was fine. Jian Wushuang clenched his teeth. He did not care about ordinary attacks on his consciousness. After all, he had to go through his soul first. As a perfect life form, he was invincible in the soul aspect. However, his soul could not block the attack of the three-eyed demon woman. He could only rely on his own consciousness to endure it. If his consciousness could not block it, he could not do anything against the Stone Man and the Snow-White Ape Man. Haha, he actually used his divine body to block the stone's attacks. It seems that his divine power is not consumed too much. A little principal's master really has some ability. The three-eyed demon woman laughed strangely. Then she glanced at the 300-meter-tall Stone Man and said, "Stone, go on. Don't show mercy. He won't die in the consciousness space anyway." "Okay." The 300-meter-tall Stone Man nodded silently. Then he raised another giant stone and smashed it at Jian Wushuang. Boom! The stone pierced through the void like a meteor, and the terrifying wind tore the void apart. The moment the Stone Man attacked, the three-eyed demon woman's third eye shone with a dazzling purple light again. Again! Jian Wushuang's face darkened and he immediately closed his eyes. He thought that the three-eyed demon woman's technique was transmitted by the purple light in her eyes. As long as he closed his eyes and did not see the purple light, he would not be affected by the purple light. In fact, after the purple light lit up, whether Jian Wushuang saw it or not, it would shine on his body at once. Then the same thing happened. Jian Wushuang felt a sharp pain in his consciousness and temporarily lost control of his divine body. He squatted there again. Then the meteor-like giant rock came crashing down fiercely. Behind the giant rock, snowflakes fluttered in the sky, and the Snow-White Ape Man's fist also came smashing toward Jian Wushuang. Bang! Bang! Jian Wushuang could not withstand the terrifying attacks of two superior rulers at the same time. His divine body was seriously injured again, and blood gushed out of his mouth, dyeing his armor red. "Master, the three-eyed demon's special attack is very strange. Whether you see it with your eyes or not, you will be hit. There is only one way to defend against such a method, and that is to rely on your absolute strong consciousness. Your consciousness obviously can't defend against the three-eyed demon woman's attack." Devil Flame's voice sounded again. "No, I can't." Jian Wushuang's face darkened. His consciousness was actually very strong. After all, he had lived 2 lives and had experienced countless life and death situations. He could completely ignore ordinary consciousness attacks. However, the three-eyed demon woman was extremely powerful. Even if she was not a supreme being, she was probably a terrifying ruler in the 4th or 5th level. Even though she was the gatekeeper of Heaven-Treading Mountain in the Red Cloud world, she could still affect ordinary superior rulers with her consciousness attack. Jian Wushuang's consciousness was strong, but it was still slightly inferior to that of a superior ruler. Therefore, he could not block it. If I can't block the three-eyed demon woman's consciousness attack, then I'll be a living target. I won't be able to move even if I want to, let alone use any techniques. If this continues, it won't be long before I run out of divine power after a dozen attacks. Then I'll be defeated. Jian Wushuang frowned. Suddenly, Jian Wushuang's expression changed and he asked, "Devil Flame, does your gold-devouring divine body have some effect on your consciousness?" "Yes." Devil Flame nodded. "Although my gold-devouring divine body is only in the molding stage, it can greatly improve your strength and consciousness. However, it won't last long. Master, even if you summon your gold-devouring divine body and use it to resist the three-eyed demon woman's consciousness attack, you can't defeat these 3 people. You won't be able to pass this test." Although Devil Flame was in the blood-red gourd, he could see that the 3 people in front of him were all superior rulers. Jian Wushuang had no advantage against any of them. 1 against 3. Even if he could block the three-eyed demon woman's consciousness attack, he would still be completely suppressed by these 3 people. As for defeating these 3 people, it was impossible. At least Jian Wushuang could not do it now. Hearing Devil Flame's words, Jian Wushuang shook his head and said, "No, As long as I can block the three-eyed demon woman's consciousness attack, even if I still can't defeat the three of them, I might be able to pass this test. Ha! Devil Flame was stunned. If I remember correctly, the Snow-White Ape Man told the three-eyed demon woman and the Stone Man that they don't have much time. Jian Wushuang narrowed his eyes slightly. Previously, when he fought with the Ape Man one-on-one, the three-eyed demon woman and the Stone Man were watching the show. The three-eyed demon woman even mocked the Ape Man. This made the Ape Man furious. Later, he told them to attack immediately, saying that they did not have much time. The Ape Man might have said something unintentionally. Ordinary people would not care about it, but Jian Wushuang heard it and paid attention to it. Not only that, but Jian Wushuang had also made a lot of guesses. Yes, the tests at the foot of the mountain and the mountainside all require me to defeat the gatekeepers face to face, but the tests at the peak are obviously different. There are 3 gatekeepers at the peak, and the 3 gatekeepers. One is extremely fast, the other is extremely powerful, and the last one is a three-eyed demon clansman with unique consciousness attacks. All 3 of them have the battle strength of a superior ruler. If they work together, even a ruler at the top of the first level would not be able to defeat them face to face. As for me, I'm just a principles master. It would be incredible if I had to defeat all 3 of them. And the Snow-White Ape Man, he said that they didn't have enough time. In other words, the test on the peak might not be for me to defeat all 3 gatekeepers, but for me to hold on for a certain amount of time and not be killed by them. Jian Wushuang's eyes flashed with a strange light. The more he thought about it, the more he felt that the possibility was greater. First of all, he was only a principles master. Heaven-treading mountain was also a test of his level as a principles master. As for a principles master, no matter how heaven-defying he was, it was still inconceivable for him to defeat 3 top-tier rulers who specialized in speed, power, and special consciousness attacks. Even in the vast universe, not many principles masters could do it, let alone in this star field. Although the Red Cloud world had an extraordinary origin, it was only the first test, so the requirements should not be so ridiculous. Moreover, the Snow-White Ape Man's words also revealed some information, which made Jian Wushuang think that the test at the peak was different from the tests at the foot of the mountain and at the mountainside. Every time I summon the gold-devouring divine body of the Devil Flame, I need to consume a large number of special crystals to recover. If I have no chance of passing this test, I don't need to summon it. But now that I have a chance, I have to try. Jian Wushuang's eyes were cold. He had already made up his mind. He immediately flipped his palm and a blood-red gourd appeared in his hand. He opened the stopper of the blood-red gourd. Suddenly, a suffocating and terrifying power burst out from the blood-red gourd. It was a pitch-black and boundless flame. The flame was so cold that even the ruler was shocked. It burst out from the blood-red gourd. In an instant, the void of the Red Cloud world seemed to be unable to withstand the power of the black flame and collapsed. Then, a large area of black flame jumped crazily. They surged toward Jian Wushuang's body. In the blink of an eye, Jian Wushuang's entire body was enveloped by the monstrous black flames, and his body expanded by a full circle. At the same time, the aura he emitted instantly rose to a whole new level. The gold-devouring divine body of the Devil Flame could also be said to be the body of the Devil Flame. Previously, Jian Wushuang had seen Pupil Master summon it once, but now he had summoned it. With the help of the gold-devouring divine body, Jian Wushuang immediately felt that his strength had improved by leaps and bounds. This improvement was not only in his strength, but also in his soul and consciousness. The three-eyed demon woman, the 300-meter-tall stone man, and the Snow-White Ape Man all noticed the change in Jian Wushuang. It seems that you have used a powerful secret skill, but it's useless. As long as your consciousness is not strong enough to withstand my attack, you will only be a target for the Stone and Ape Man. There is no chance for you to struggle. The three-eyed demon woman smiled slightly. The dazzling purple light in her third eye lit up again. The 300-meter-tall stone man shook its body and its terrifying power soared. It raised the giant rock again and smashed it at Jian Wushuang. The Snow-White Ape Man also burst out with its terrifying speed. It would attack when Jian Wushuang's consciousness could not control his divine body. Buzz! The purple light shone on Jian Wushuang's body. In an instant, the intense pain caused by his consciousness appeared again. Jian Wushuang was still gnashing his teeth in pain, but this time, although it was painful, his consciousness did not escape the control of his divine body. I've withstood it. Jian Wushuang was overjoyed in his heart. His eyes were fixed on the huge rock that was shooting toward him like a meteor. The next moment, Earth Guard! Jian Wushuang brandished his sword. The Netherworld Divine Sword seemed to be casually slashed out, but it contained a special mystery. Buzz, buzz, buzz. A large amount of sword essence, accompanied by a large amount of earthy yellow energy, instantly rose up. With a thick and nostalgic sense of the principles of the earth, coupled with Jian Wushuang's attainments in sword principle, in an instant layers of earthy yellow earth sword domain formed. After the first earth sword domain appeared, the second and third earth sword domains were formed immediately. In the blink of an eye, a total of 13 earth sword domains were formed in front of Jian Wushuang. Yes, it was 13. When he was meditating under the sword stone, he had perfected the Earth Guard to the 12 sword domains. The Earth Guard of the 12 sword domains had previously blocked Master Qing's strongest attack head-on. However, more than 2,000 years had passed since Master Qing had exchanged blows with him. During these 2,000 years, he had wandered around the Red Cloud world and exchanged blows with experts. His comprehension of sword techniques and the principles of the earth had improved to a certain extent. As a result, the 12 sword domains had an additional layer. Now, he could use the Earth Guard of the 13 sword domains at the same time. Naturally, the defensive ability of the Earth Guard was better than before. Bang! The meteor-like giant rock, containing extremely terrifying power, crashed into the 13 sword domains. In almost an instant, 9 of the 13 sword domains were crushed. At the 10th level, the speed became slower, but the 10th sword domain was still crushed. Then the 11th level, the 12th level. The terrifying impact of the boulder was obviously stronger than the full-strength attack of Master Qing. Master Qing could not defeat all of Jian Wushuang's 12 levels of the sword realm. But the boulder did, however. The boulder only defeated the 12 levels of the sword realm, but it still could not defeat the 13th level of the sword realm. In other words, Jian Wushuang's Earth Guard had perfectly blocked the terrifying power of the boulder that the 300-meter-tall stone man had smashed at him. Although the Snow-White Ape Man's fist had arrived shortly after, its power was obviously not as powerful as the impact of the boulder. Therefore, Jian Wushuang had a much easier time dealing with it. Boom! Boom! 2 consecutive loud bangs rang out. Although Jian Wushuang had been knocked back by the impact, he did not suffer a serious injury to his divine body as before, and the consumption of his divine power was not much. He actually withstood my consciousness attack? The three-eyed demon woman's expression finally changed. My attack did not break through his protective sword skill? The stone man, who was 300 meters tall, was also shocked. Sure enough, Jian Wushuang, who had regained his balance, had a cold smile on his face. As long as I can withstand the three-eyed demon woman's consciousness attack and control my divine body to use the Earth Guard, the stone man's attack will not be able to do anything to me. Although summoning the gold-devouring divine body for a long time has consumed a lot of divine power, and the amount of divine power I used to use the Earth Guard is also enormous, it is much slower than before. If they don't have any other trump cards or tricks, they won't be able to use up all my divine power even if I give them 2 hours. He did not think that the 3 people in front of him would have enough time to kill him in 2 hours. As expected, the 3 people became anxious after seeing how easily Jian Wushuang blocked their attacks. This kid is not weak. We can't waste time with him. Let's kill him with our full strength. The three-eyed demon woman's voice was solemn. As soon as she finished speaking, the purple light from her third eye became more dazzling than ever. At the same time, purple light balls appeared out of thin air beside her. Each of these purple light balls contained extremely strong destructive power, and then they smashed toward Jian Wushuang one after another. The aura of the 300-meter-tall stone man skyrocketed. At this moment, his 2 towering palms each lifted a boulder, and at the same time, 2 boulders smashed toward Jian Wushuang in anger. The Snow-White Ape Man's vicious aura surged, and snowflakes danced in the sky. One snow-white fist after another completely enveloped Jian Wushuang. The three of them did not hold back at all. They had already reached the limit of their strength in heaven-treading mountain. However, although the three-eyed demon woman's consciousness attack was slightly stronger than before, Jian Wushuang could still withstand the attack with the help of the gold-devouring divine body. Although it was difficult for him to move because of the intense pain in his soul, he did not need to move at all. He just needed to stand there and then use the Earth Protection Sword skill to block the attacks in front of him. The terrifying attacks were blocked by the 13 layers of his sword domain. Even if he could not block all of them, he could still use the Earth Guard sword technique. Many attacks hit his divine body. However, because of the gold-devouring divine body, his divine body was strengthened again. Although the damage to his divine body was reduced, he could still resist them for a long time. As time went by, the three gatekeepers became more and more anxious. "There's no time. Give it your all," the three-eyed demon woman shouted. But no matter how anxious they were, it was useless. Although the three of them had great strength and had more secret skills than they had shown, as gatekeepers on the peak of heaven-treading mountain, they were only facing a principal's master. They could not use their many skills at all. Now that they had pushed their strength to the limit, they still could not do anything to Jian Wushuang. Finally, buzz! The void trembled slightly, and the three gatekeepers stopped at the same time. Time was up. Jian Wushuang's consciousness began to leave this space. Near the peak of heaven-treading mountain, Jian Wushuang opened his eyes again. When he opened them, he found the three-eyed demon woman, the snow-white ape man, and the 5-meter-tall stone man staring at him. Their eyes were strange. There was shock, frustration, and helplessness. They were indeed frustrated and helpless. If they could display their strength a little better, they would not give Jian Wushuang a chance. If they could exert their strength at the peak, they could kill Jian Wushuang countless times with just a blow of their breath. However, because they were in heaven-treading mountain, they had no choice but to watch Jian Wushuang pass the test. "You three, I should have passed the test, right?" Jian Wushuang asked with a smile. "Yes, you have." The three-eyed demon woman nodded. "The requirement of this test is that you can last for 15 minutes in our hands. You've already met the requirement." Jian Wushuang was delighted. "Boy, you're really capable." The snow-white ape man also looked over. "You're just a principal's master, and the three of us have displayed battle strength at the peak of the first-level master level in heaven-treading mountain. The three of us joined hands to kill you, but you can last for more than 15 minutes in our hands. Even this 15 minutes is far from your limit. This alone is enough to prove that you have a bright future." That's right. Even in the vast universe, there aren't many principal's masters who can do this in the hands of the three of us. The three-eyed demon woman also nodded. The three of them had been captured and brought to the Red Cloud world a long time ago. After that, they had been the gatekeepers at the peak of heaven-treading mountain. Although the Red Cloud world declined and they came to this remote star field and did not encounter any outstanding geniuses, they had at least existed in the depths of the universe for quite some time. During this period, there were also countless geniuses who came to their level. However, only a handful of them could pass this test. It was a test that even many geniuses in the depths of the universe could not pass. If Jian Wushuang, the master of rules from the peripheral star field, could pass it, he naturally had a bright future. "Well, let's cut the crap. You passed the test of the three of us. According to the rules of the Red Cloud world, you can go to the peak of heaven-treading mountain to see Lord Wu," the snow-white ape man said. "Lord Wu." Jian Wushuang's expression changed. "Who is this Lord Wu?" Lord Wu is the steward of the Red Cloud world. He is responsible for managing everything in the Red Cloud world, including the life and death of all living beings in the Red Cloud world. As for the life and death of the three of us, it depends on Lord Wu's will. So when you see Lord Wu later, you must be respectful and not show any disrespect. Otherwise, if you upset Lord Wu, he might kill you directly," the ape man said. "Kill me directly?" Jian Wushuang was surprised. "I have passed the trial of heaven-treading mountain. Will Lord Wu kill me too?" "Of course. What's the point of passing the trial of heaven-treading mountain? It's just the first trial of the Red Cloud world. Although he is considered a top genius in the universe, It's not enough to attract Lord Wu's attention. Now that the Red Cloud world has declined and the master of the Red Cloud world has disappeared, it's entirely up to Lord Wu to decide what he wants to do. If he wants to kill you, who can stop him? The Snow-White Ape-Man glanced at Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang suddenly became nervous. Of course, you don't have to worry too much. Although Lord Wu is in charge of life and death in the Red Cloud world, he has always been mild-mannered. As long as you don't foolishly provoke him, he won't attack you. Moreover, according to the rules of the Red Cloud world, he will give you rewards and benefits. The Snow-White Ape-Man laughed again. Is he gentle? Jian Wushuang heaved a sigh of relief. He was worried that the so-called Lord Wu was a lunatic who had become temperamental because he had been trapped in the 5 gold period. It was not as if he had never seen such a lunatic. Killing depended on one's preferences. He might even kill someone who disliked him. Such a person was too dangerous. He was only the principal's master now, and he was also in the Red Cloud world. If that Lord Wu wanted to kill him, he probably would not even have the slightest chance to struggle. Let's go. I'll bring you to see Lord Wu, the Snow-White Ape-Man said. Under the guidance of the Snow-White Ape-Man, Jian Wushuang soon crossed the last dozens of steps and appeared on the peak of Heaven-Treading Mountain. The peak of Heaven-Treading Mountain was already the highest point of the first heaven of the Red Cloud world. If one stood at the foot of Heaven-Treading Mountain and looked up, it would be unattainable. However, when he really stood on the peak, Jian Wushuang immediately looked down and found that his vision was completely blocked. He could not see anything at the foot of the peak. When he arrived at the peak, Jian Wushuang immediately saw a bald elder in a luxurious silver robe. The bald elder had his hands behind his back and a gentle smile on his face, which made people feel very friendly at first sight. Jian Wushuang could not help feeling warm in his heart when he saw the bald elder. He immediately had a good impression of him. Lord Wu. The Snow-White Ape-Man bowed respectfully. Blood Sword. Greetings, Lord Wu. Jian Wushuang was naturally very respectful. You can go first. The bald elder, Lord Wu, glanced at the Snow-White Ape-Man. Yes. The Snow-White Ape-Man did not dare to disobey and immediately turned to leave. Only Jian Wushuang and the bald elder, Lord Wu, were left on the peak. Blood Sword, is that your name? Lord Wu looked at Jian Wushuang with a smile on his face. It's rare for someone at the level of a principal's master to be able to reach this level. Although you are a perfect life and have passed the trial of Heaven-Treading Mountain, which is partly related to your life level, your strength, your understanding of sword principle, and your various skills are not weak. Jian Wushuang's expression changed, but he was not surprised. Ordinary people would not be able to tell that he had a perfect life level, but as long as he used his full strength and used his life divine power and heaven-cleaving skill, these 2 secret skills were used to maximize his life level advantage. As long as he used these 2 secret skills with Lord Wu's vision, he would be able to tell his life level at a glance. Aside from your life level, your talent should be top-notch in the vast universe. If you add your life level, you can be said to be one of the top geniuses in the entire universe. Such a genius, even in the depths of the universe, is enough to be valued by many forces, Lord Wu said. You flatter me, sir. Jian Wushuang was very modest, but he was very puzzled. His talent, including the perfect life level, was only valued by the forces in the depths of the universe. This made Jian Wushuang even more curious about the depths of the universe, and how many incredible geniuses there were. Under normal circumstances, a genius like you, who has passed the test of Heaven-Treading Mountain, can become Master's disciple. Although you are only an outer disciple, you can also receive benefits that you couldn't imagine before, as well as various resources. Unfortunately, Master's bloodline has long been destroyed. Even Master has died in battle. Countless experts under his command have died, fled, roamed about, and even Master's divine kingdom has completely collapsed. The Red Cloud world has also come to this border through the turbulence of the universe. Now, there is only a small portion of the resources left by Master as a reward. So, naturally, you won't be able to get as much now, Lord Wu said in a low voice. Jian Wushuang's expression was calm, but he sighed in his heart. In fact, he had guessed that the founder of the Red Cloud world had died. Otherwise, the Red Cloud world would not have existed here. The test in the Red Cloud world was probably used by the master of the Red Cloud world to select disciples. However, after the master of the Red Cloud world died in battle, the Red Cloud world drifted here. Although there was no support from the Red Cloud world, Lord Wu, who was in charge of everything in the Red Cloud world, still followed his master's orders. He continued to select disciples for the Red Cloud world. Although you can't get the treatment that the outer disciples of the master's line deserve, since you passed the test of Heaven-Treading Mountain, you can still get some benefits. After saying that, Lord Wu waved his hand. The void beside him suddenly tore open, and a space passage appeared in front of Jian Wushuang. Blood Sword, come with me. Lord Wu stepped into the space passage that suddenly appeared. Jian Wushuang did not hesitate and followed Lord Wu into the space passage. With a flash of light, Jian Wushuang appeared on a vast land. The land was still blood-red, and red clouds were still rolling above it, just like most environments in the first heaven of the Red Cloud world. However, when Jian Wushuang looked around with his soul power, he immediately figured out where he was. An island. Am I on an island now? Jian Wushuang was surprised. This is Red Cloud Island, or the second heaven of the Red Cloud world, Lord Wu said. Second heaven? Jian Wushuang was surprised. Sure enough, there was a second heaven in the Red Cloud Foundation, but it seemed to be very different from the first heaven. There are 3 heavens in the Red Cloud world, and the first heaven has 7 continents. The 7th continent, where Heaven-Treading Mountain is located, is the core of the Red Cloud world. It is vast and boundless. It is not much inferior to an astral world. The second heaven is not as vast as the first heaven. There is only one island in the second heaven. The island you are on now is only hundreds of thousands of miles in size. Lord Wu said in a low voice. As for the third heaven in the Red Cloud world, it is even smaller. Although it is called the third heaven, there is only a simple high platform in the third heaven. The high platform is very ordinary, but it is very difficult to step onto it. Do you also need to pass the test? Jian Wushuang could not help looking at Lord Wu. Yes. Lord Wu nodded. There are 2 tests in the Red Cloud world. These 2 tests correspond to the tests of the outer and inner disciples. If you pass the Heaven-Treading Mountain test of the first heaven, you can enter the second heaven and qualify as an outer disciple. In the second heaven, there's also a test for inner disciples. You can only enter the third heaven if you pass the test here. Is that so? Jian Wushuang understood. At the same time, he also understood that the trial of Heaven-Treading Mountain in the first heaven was so difficult. He had to exert all his strength and use all his trump cards to barely pass it. As for the trial in the second heaven, it was definitely more difficult. With his current strength, the possibility of passing it was very slim. Little guy, I've told you so much, but you probably don't even know who the master is. Lord Wu stared at Jian Wushuang. Yes. Jian Wushuang nodded. Listen, master, his real name is Host. Of course, almost no one in the universe knows this name. Most people only know the title of Master, Patriarch Red Cloud. Lord Wu's face was filled with respect and admiration. Master is a supreme expert, and a very powerful one at that. He personally founded the Red Cloud branch and even opened a divine kingdom. Is he really a supreme expert? Jian Wushuang was not surprised. As for opening a divine kingdom, Jian Wushuang had never been to the depths of the universe. He did not know what a divine kingdom was, but judging from what Lord Wu said, opening a divine kingdom should be a great thing. How strong is an extremely strong supreme being? Jian Wushuang could not help but ask. Very strong. Among the supreme beings, Master is considered to be at the top level, enough to dominate the universe. However, there were too many top experts who participated in that battle. There were many who were stronger than Master, such as Supreme Being Ling Yun, Jade Throat King, and the 100-Battle Demon Ancestor, who were all super experts who were above Master. Master died at the hands of the 100-Battle Demon Ancestor, and even the Divine Kingdom was completely destroyed. Sigh! Lord Wu could not help sighing. Upon hearing Lord Wu's words, Jian Wushuang immediately had many thoughts. Supreme Ling Yun, Jade Throat King, and the 100-Battle Demon Ancestor? He might not know about Jade Throat King and the 100-Battle Demon Ancestor, but he knew about Supreme Ling Yun. After all, he was now a disciple of the Ling Yun star lineage. According to Lord Wu, many years ago, an extremely fierce battle broke out in the depths of the universe. Even supreme experts died in that battle. Supreme Ling Yun and Patriarch Red Cloud participated in that battle, and Patriarch Red Cloud died in that battle. As for Supreme Ling Yun, perhaps he was severely injured in that battle, which led to the disaster of the Ling Yun star lineage, Jian Wushuang thought to himself. At the same time, he finally understood why there were 3 battlefields in this star field. According to his estimation, it was very likely that the battle back then was too earth-shattering, causing many divine kingdoms to collapse. One of the divine kingdoms was swallowed by the broken cosmic turbulence and drifted into this star field. As for the Red Cloud world, the secret realm where Ling Yun's star was located was probably also a floating one. When Master was alive, his strength was monstrous. He founded the Red Cloud lineage and had a complete disciple training system. This Red Cloud world was specially selected for Master to choose suitable disciples. Back then, in the vast universe, who knows how many genius disciples came to the Red Cloud world, hoping to pass the test of the Red Cloud world and become a disciple of the Red Cloud lineage. Even if it's just an outer sect disciple, it's enough for countless geniuses to go crazy fighting over it. At that time, our Red Cloud world would occasionally select outer sect disciples or even inner sect disciples for Master. However, ever since that battle, the Red Cloud world has drifted here. Although I have always followed my duty and been selecting disciples for the Red Cloud world, up until now, the only person who has successfully passed the trial of Heaven-Treading Mountain is you. Little guy, you're the first person to pass the trial of Heaven-Treading Mountain after Master died. Although you won't be treated as an outer disciple of the Red Cloud branch, I won't give you any less benefits in the Red Cloud world. As Lord Wu spoke, he waved his hand, and immediately, token after token appeared and floated in front of Jian Wushuang. There were 36 tokens. According to the rules set by Master, whoever passes the trial of Heaven-Treading Mountain and comes to the second heaven can not only enjoy the great opportunities in the second heaven, but also choose one of the 36 secret skills to cultivate. Little guy, you can choose one of these 36 tokens, Lord Wu said. Looking at the 36 tokens floating in front of him, it was obvious that each of them contained a secret skill. This secret skill came from the Red Cloud branch. Since Patriarch Red Cloud was so powerful, any one of the 36 secret skills must be extraordinary. However, Jian Wushuang was not happy. Lord Wu, is this the reward for passing the trial of Heaven-Treading Mountain? Jian Wushuang asked with a frown. Why? Are you still not satisfied? Lord Wu immediately glared at him. Boy, I'm afraid you don't know that each of the 36 secret skills is an extremely precious treasure of the Red Cloud branch. Some were created by the Master himself, while others were plundered by other supreme experts. Each of these secret skills is enough to cause countless rulers to fight for it. Even some weaker supreme experts would covet them. How could you not be satisfied? No, no. Jian Wushuang shook his head repeatedly. That's not what I meant, nor do I dislike the 36 secret skills. However, I came to Heaven-Treading Mountain because I need a special treasure, which may be found in the Red Cloud world. Oh, what treasure? Lord Wu looked over. The Ice Heart Glazed Jade, a special treasure that can help people shape their glazed bodies, Jian Wushuang said solemnly. He really desired the Ice Heart Glazed Jade, which was a precious treasure for his wife to rebuild her divine body. He had been so eager for the Red Cloud world not only because of the opportunities in the Red Cloud world, but also because there were countless treasures in the Red Cloud world, most likely including the Ice Heart Glazed Jade. That was why he had desperately wanted to pass the Heaven-Treading Mountains test. He had thought that he would have a chance to get the Ice Heart Glazed Jades after passing the Heaven-Treading Mountains test, but he had not expected that the reward after passing the Heaven-Treading Mountain was only one of the 36 secret techniques. Indeed, these 36 secret techniques were very powerful, and any one of them was far more valuable than the Ice Heart Glazed Jades. However, He had longed for the ice-heart glazed jades even more. Ice-heart glazed jade? Lord Wu frowned slightly and said, "There is no such thing in the Red Cloud world." "What?" Jian Wushuang's face changed immediately. "No? The Red Cloud world has endless supreme treasures and countless opportunities and treasures. How can there be no ice-heart glazed jade?" Jian Wushuang could not believe it. "I am in charge of everything in the Red Cloud world. I can tell you with certainty that although there are many treasures left by Master in the Red Cloud world, including all kinds of genius and earthly treasures, the ice-heart glazed jade you mentioned is not among them." Lord Wu was very sure. "No?" Jian Wushuang was confused and unwilling to accept this. He had gone through a lot of trouble to pass through Heaven-Treading Mountain to get the ice-heart glazed jade, but now Lord Wu told him that he did not have it. How could he accept this? "I can see that you need the ice-heart glazed jade very much." Lord Wu looked at Jian Wushuang deeply, but then he smiled. "You don't have to be nervous. There is no ice-heart glazed jade in the Red Cloud world, but there is something in the Red Cloud world that can replace it. It's even better than the ice-heart glazed jade." "What?" Jian Wushuang looked at him immediately. "Little guy, you want the ice-heart glazed jade so that you can reshape someone's divine body, right?" Lord Wu asked. "Yes, for my wife," Jian Wushuang answered immediately. No wonder. Lord Wu understood. The ice-heart glazed jade can reshape a glazed body. The glazed body can be molded at will. However, the glazed body itself is not a very good physique. After it is molded, it will be the same as an ordinary cultivator. At most, it will have a slight advantage. But in the Red Cloud world, there is a special treasure that is also used to create divine bodies. It is called the Heart of the Astral World. The Heart of the Astral World? Jian Wushuang's expression changed. It was the first time he had heard of this treasure. As the name suggests, the Heart of the Astral World is the core of an astral world. It contains the essence of an astral world for billions of years and has incredible effects. It is easy to create a divine body with the Heart of the Astral World. In terms of potential, the divine body created by the Heart of the Astral World is much stronger than the so-called glazed body. Under normal circumstances, if a cultivator absorbed the stellar heart, he would easily become a ruler and even become a supreme being. The stellar heart contains the endless essence of an astral world, including the vast life force of the astral world. Therefore, if a divine body is formed with the stellar heart, the life force of the divine body formed will be extremely strong. The recovery of the divine body will be many times faster than that of an ordinary cultivator, Lord Wu said. Hearing Lord Wu's words, Jian Wushuang was shocked. The heart of the astral world contained endless life force. Moreover, after a cultivator absorbed the heart of the astral world, he would have great potential and become a ruler easily. The heart of the astral world was amazing. It was many times stronger than the glazed ice jade. Shuang-Er's strength is too weak. I was worried that even if she had the glazed ice jade, she would need to cultivate step by step to become a principal's master, let alone a ruler. But if she could get the heart of the astral world, it would be much easier. Jian Wushuang clenched his hands. He was extremely excited. Lord Wu, can I exchange the reward for passing the heaven-treading mountain for the heart of the astral world? Jian Wushuang asked. Exchange for the heart of the astral world? You wish. Lord Wu sneered. Little guy, I have just told you the use of the heart of the astral world. You should be able to hear that the heart of the astral world is a very rare treasure. It is extremely precious even in the vast universe. After all, the astral world heart is the core of an astral world. During the process of astral world evolution, it is protected by the laws of the universe. No one can take it out. Only when an astral world evolves to the end and self-destructs will the astral world heart be left behind. Moreover, not every astral world that evolves to the end will leave behind an astral world heart. Instead, only when tens of thousands of astral worlds evolve to the end will there be an astral world heart left behind. Most importantly, the heart of the astral world will return to the universe after less than a month in the universe void. If no one finds it within a month or can't take it with special treasures, then the heart of the astral world will be gone. Because of this, the heart of the astral world is extremely rare in the universe, and its value is extremely expensive. Under normal circumstances, the entire wealth of a 4th level or even 5th level ruler is not comparable to the heart of the astral world, and this is only the price of the heart of the astral world. But the heart of the astral world is too rare in the universe. Even if you can afford it, someone must sell it. Lord Wu's words stunned Jian Wushuang. Although he had guessed that the heart of the astral world might be valuable, he did not expect it to be so valuable. Even the entire wealth of the 4th and 5th level rulers might not be as valuable as the heart of the astral world. Suddenly, Jian Wushuang frowned. Lord Wu, although the heart of the astral world is very precious, each of the 36 secret skills of the Red Cloud bloodline is enough to drive countless rulers crazy. The value of these secret skills should be above the heart of the astral world, right? At the very least, they should be more or less the same. You are right. These 36 secret arts have been accumulated by the Red Cloud lineage over the course of countless years. Their value is immeasurable. Even a single secret art would be worth as much as the astral heart. Lord Wu nodded slightly. But then, the conversation changed. However, the trials and rewards of the Red Cloud lineage were all set by Master when he was alive. Although Master is now dead, no one can change the rules he set. Naturally, I can't change them either. If you pass the heaven-treading mountain, then you can only get one of the 36 secret techniques, as well as the opportunities contained in the second heaven. You can also get it, but other things like the heart of the astral world cannot be obtained through the heaven-treading mountain. Of course, you can continue to work hard and think of a way to pass the second heaven's test. As long as you can pass the test of the second heaven, you can go to the third heaven and become an inner disciple of the Red Cloud branch. According to the rules set by the Master, an inner disciple can choose 3 treasures from all the treasures in the Red Cloud world. Then you can choose the heart of the astral world as your reward, Lord Wu said. Can I get the heart of the astral world only after I pass the second heaven? Jian Wushuang's expression changed slightly. Jian Wushuang had already used all his skills to pass the first heaven. Although he had yet to pass the second heaven, he could imagine that it would be much more difficult than the first heaven. It would be impossible for him to pass it now. Little fellow, you don't have to be too anxious. What you need to do now is to choose one of the 36 secret techniques and cultivate it. Then, you can use some of the opportunities in the second heaven to think of ways to increase your strength. Although the second heaven's trial is 100 times more difficult than the first heaven's trial, with your talent, you might be able to pass it in the future, Lord Wu said. The future? Jian Wushuang's face darkened. Lord Wu, you know that I'm a cultivator in the star field, and the Red Cloud world usually only appears once every hundreds of millions of years. Every time it appears, it's only 10,000 years. It's been almost 8,000 years since the Red Cloud world appeared. In other words, I have less than 2,000 years left. How can I talk about the future? Do we have to wait until the next birth of the Red Cloud world? You don't have to worry about that. Lord Wu smiled. The Red Cloud world only appears once every hundreds of millions of years in this star field, and each birth is irregular. Of course, it depends on my mood. When I want to be born, I will be born. Similarly, whoever I want to let into the Red Cloud world can enter. Ha! Jian Wushuang immediately looked at Lord Wu. If you didn't pass the test of heaven-treading mountain before, then you will have to wait hundreds of millions of years before you can enter the Red Cloud world again. But now that you have passed the test of heaven-treading mountain and are an outer disciple of the Red Cloud branch, you can naturally enter and exit the Red Cloud world at will. Before you leave the Red Cloud world, I will give you a token. Through the token, you can easily find the entrance to the Red Cloud world and enter the Red Cloud world, Lord Wu said with a smile. Hearing this, Jian Wushuang was overjoyed. Lord Wu, you mean I can enter and leave the Red Cloud world at any time in the future? Jian Wushuang asked excitedly. Yes. Lord Wu nodded and said, of course, if you enter the Red Cloud world through the entrance, there won't be any supreme treasures appearing in the Red Cloud world. Supreme treasures appearing? Lord Wu, those supreme treasures appearing in the Red Cloud world were deliberately guided by you, right? Jian Wushuang asked. Yes, I did. Lord Wu admitted. The purpose of the Red Cloud world is to select suitable disciples for the master's lineage. If you want to choose disciples, you have to attract an endless stream of genius experts. How to attract them depends on these supreme treasures. I see. Jian Wushuang understood. But the number of supreme treasures in the Red Cloud world over the past few epochs is too much, isn't it? Jian Wushuang was amazed in his heart. The Red Cloud world had existed in this star field for several epochs. Although it only opened once every hundreds of millions of years, it had probably opened hundreds of times over the past few epochs. And every time the Red Cloud world opened, countless supreme treasures would appear in the first sky. For a full 10,000 years, even if one supreme treasure appeared in the Red Cloud world every year, it would still be more than 10,000 supreme treasures. If the Red Cloud world opened more than 100 times, it would be more than 1,000,000 supreme treasures. In addition, among these supreme treasures, there was no lack of pinnacle or even supreme treasures. Although the Red Cloud lineage was once extremely glorious, it had declined no matter what. Even Patriarch Red Cloud had died. But there were still so many supreme treasures in the Red Cloud world. Lord Wu seemed to have read Jian Wushuang's mind and smiled. He said, "Little guy, don't think that the number of these supreme treasures is frightening. In fact, the value of these supreme treasures is pitifully low. The Red Cloud world has opened hundreds of times and produced millions of supreme treasures. However, the value of these millions of supreme treasures added together is only equivalent to one or two good principles' supreme treasures." A principle's supreme treasure? Jian Wushuang was stunned. What is a principle's supreme treasure? You don't know? Lord Wu looked at Jian Wushuang in surprise. Seeing him shake his head, he smiled and said, "It seems that your star field is too remote. You don't even know what a principle's supreme treasure is. A principle's supreme treasure is a supreme treasure that has been blessed by the principles of the universe. This power is extremely powerful, far beyond that of ordinary supreme treasures. The conditions for using a principle's supreme treasure are also very high. Under normal circumstances, one must grasp a trace of the aura of the principles of the universe in order to barely grasp it. However, it is only barely grasped. As for the power of a principle's supreme treasure, one must have a certain level of comprehension of the principles of the universe. In the vast universe, principles' supreme treasure are extremely valuable. Any low-level principle's true treasure can be exchanged for thousands of supreme true treasures. Principles' supreme treasure are treasures that true great beings in the universe can use. Most rulers in the universe, even those at the second or third level, don't have principles' supreme treasure. However, those at the fourth level and above might be able to get one or two if they're lucky. However, as long as a fourth-level ruler hasn't comprehended any universe principles, he can't exert the power of a principle's supreme treasure. Of course, even if he can't exert the power of the principle's supreme treasure can still be enhanced by the universe principles. Hearing this, Jian Wushuang was shocked. A principle's supreme treasure? A weapon and treasure used by top experts in the vast universe? Even the lowest level of a principle's true treasure contained the laws of the universe. One had to comprehend the laws of the universe to be able to exert its power. Any principle's true treasure was worth hundreds or thousands of supreme true treasures. Oh my God! Jian Wushuang could not help exclaiming. He had been delighted when he had obtained a supreme flight-type true treasure and a supreme true treasure armor in the Red Cloud world. But now, in the blink of an eye, he knew about the existence of a principle's true treasure. He immediately understood that he had always been a frog in a well. A supreme true treasure was indeed a good treasure in this star field, enough to make a ruler expert fight for it. But in the vast universe, it was nothing. Only a principle's true treasure was used by a true expert. Do you understand now? Lord Wu looked at Jian Wushuang with interest. It's just a few million ordinary supreme treasures. Even a supreme being wouldn't care about them, let alone a supreme being like Master. In that battle, when Master died and his divine kingdom collapsed, countless cultivators in the divine kingdom died and their supreme treasures were left behind. Many of them were absorbed by the Red Cloud world, so there are hundreds of millions of such supreme treasures in the Red Cloud world. I only control the number of true treasures that come into being in order to make the red cloud world last longer. Hearing this, Jian Wushuang could not help but sigh in his heart. In this star field, countless principles masters, including many rulers, were crazily fighting for the true treasures, especially the supreme true treasures. After several opportunities, countless experts had died fighting for these true treasures. However, who would have thought that the treasures that the experts were crazily fighting for in this star field were so garbage in Lord Wu's eyes? That was right, trash. Jian Wushuang could not help being stunned when he imagined the hundreds of millions of supreme treasures piled up together. Hundreds of millions of supreme treasures. No wonder Lord Wu dared to be so extravagant. Every time the red cloud world opened, tens of thousands of supreme treasures would appear. It turned out that these supreme treasures were so worthless in Lord Wu's eyes. Little guy, when you were adventuring in the first heaven, you also got a lot of supreme treasures, including a winged supreme treasure, right? Lord Wu looked at him. Yes. Jian Wushuang nodded. Thinking of his celestial wings, he could not help but smile bitterly in his heart. Celestial light wings was the most powerful flying supreme treasure. When he got the celestial light wings, he was pleasantly surprised, especially when he sensed the power of the wings. He was extremely happy. Because of the wings, his strength had greatly increased. However, now that he knew about the existence of the principal supreme treasure, Jian Wushuang felt that the wings were only SOSO in the eyes of top experts. Well, the winged supreme treasure you obtained in the first heaven is actually not bad, Lord Wu said. Not bad. Jian Wushuang looked at Lord Wu. The red cloud branch has been destroyed for many years. The red cloud world alone has been opened in this star field for several eras. During this long period of time, I divided the hundreds of millions of true treasures in the red cloud world into different levels because I was bored. Most of these hundreds of millions of true treasures are classified as the lowest level, which is garbage. The universe true treasures that your star field calls elementary universe true treasures, advanced universe true treasures, top-tier universe true treasures, and pinnacle universe true treasures are all trash, said Lord Wu. As for the universe true treasures that your star field calls the strongest universe true treasures, I can barely classify them as ordinary. Although these ordinary true treasures are useless to me, they are barely enough for ordinary first-level and second-level rulers to use. As for the ordinary true treasures, I can also classify them as supreme-grade true treasures. As the name implies, they are among the so-called universe supreme true treasures. Some of them are more powerful and some of them might be more special. As for the treasures that I can classify as supreme-grade true treasures, they are barely worthy of my attention. In terms of value, they are naturally much more valuable than ordinary supreme true treasures. There are more than 1,000 ordinary true treasures, which can barely be compared to one of the lowest principles supreme treasure. There are dozens of supreme-grade true treasures, which can be compared to one of the lowest principles supreme treasure. There are many low-grade or ordinary true treasures in the red cloud world, but only 100 of them can be classified as supreme-grade. I don't usually throw them out for you to fight over. It's only after the red cloud world opens a few times that I throw one out. This time, I threw out a supreme-grade treasure, the wings, which you got in the end. Hearing Lord Wu's words, Jian Wushuang's eyes suddenly lit up. He had been shocked and thought that the celestial light wings he got were just like that. But now it seemed that the celestial light wings were not bad. Although it was far from being comparable to a principal's true treasure, it was at least a supreme-grade true treasure, much stronger than the so-called supreme true treasure. Besides, Lord Wu had said that a supreme-grade true treasure like this could be exchanged for dozens of them. It could barely be exchanged for a lowest-grade array true treasure. In other words, the mystic light sky-escaping wing was at least 1/10 of a principal's true treasure, which was already very good. Your star field is too remote. I'm afraid that you're not qualified to meet experts, so you're not qualified to meet powerful supreme treasures. Therefore, you treat these low-level and ordinary supreme treasures as treasures and fight crazily for them. But in the future, when you enter the depths of the universe, you don't have to go too deep. As long as you enter the slightly larger star field, you'll understand how narrow your horizons are. Lord Wu smiled faintly. Jian Wushuang curled his lips. He was displeased, but he could not refute. By the way, there are many low-level and ordinary supreme treasures in the Red Cloud world. Do you want me to give you a few? Lord Wu looked at Jian Wushuang with interest. Supreme treasures of this level were absorbed from the Divine Kingdom. They were not left by Master. If you want them, I can give them to you directly. Of course I want them. Jian Wushuang immediately looked excited. Although he now knew the existence of Principal Supreme Treasure and knew that these so-called Supreme True Treasures were only SOSO, Supreme True Treasures were extremely rare in this star field. It was definitely enough to make many rulers fight for them. Perhaps he did not lack Supreme True Treasures, but he did not have any good friends. For example, Taoist Shen God, Heaven-Cleaving Alliance Master, Temporal Temple Master, and Heaven Ancestor did not have any Supreme True Treasures. There were also many high-level great beings in the Divine Beginning realm. If he could bring back a large number of Supreme True Treasures from the Red Cloud world this time, then the combat power of the highest level in the entire Divine Beginning realm would be able to rise by a large level in the future when he fought against Devil Cloud Star. His confidence would be even greater. Haha. Looking at your eagerness, fine. When you plan to go to the Red Cloud world, I'll take you to pick them out. Although I won't give you too many Supreme True Treasures, you can get hundreds of ordinary and low-level ones, Lord Wu said with a smile. Jian Wushuang was overjoyed. However, Lord Wu said, "Little guy, you're now an outer disciple of the Red Cloud branch. You should be more open-minded. Ordinary true treasures are not worth your happiness. What you should really care about now is the Principal's true treasures. Principles-based treasures." Jian Wushuang's heart skipped a beat. Lord Wu, I have a chance to get Principles-based treasures in the Red Cloud world, right? Of course. Lord Wu nodded. Didn't I tell you before that as long as you pass the test of the second heaven of the Red Cloud world and become an inner disciple of the Red Cloud branch, you can choose 3 of the treasures in the Red Cloud world. And the treasures in the Red Cloud world were all left behind by Master. Although Master only left a few at will, and there aren't many of them, only a few hundred, any one of them is enough to make the rulers of the 4th or even the 5th level envious and even go crazy. As for the Principal's Supreme Treasure, there are dozens of them. When the time comes, you can choose whatever you want to use. Only if you can pass the second test of the Red Cloud, of course. Jian Wushuang was excited when he heard it. Although there were only hundreds of treasures left by Patriarch Red Cloud in the Red Cloud world, any one of them was priceless. It was enough to drive a 4th level or even 5th level master crazy. As long as he passed the test of the second heaven, he could choose 3 of these treasures. I must pass the test of the second heaven. Jian Wushuang's eyes flashed with an unprecedented desire. Not only for the Principal's Supreme Treasure, but most importantly, he had to pass the test of the second heaven to get the Star World Heart, which could help his wife, Lang Rushuang, recover her divine body. For his wife, he had to pass the test of the second heaven no matter what. Determination is a good thing. Lord Wu looked at Jian Wushuang and poured a bucket of cold water on him. But the second heaven's test is extraordinary. Although you pass the first heaven's test and your talent is very good, and you are among the top in the entire universe, there is not much hope for you to pass the second heaven's test. What? Jian Wushuang immediately looked at him. Little guy, you know that the test in the Red Cloud world is to select disciples for the Red Cloud branch. At its peak, the Red Cloud branch was so powerful that it had a huge divine kingdom. My master, Patriarch Red Cloud, was a top expert among the supreme beings. Since he was so powerful, he naturally had high expectations. Ordinary geniuses were nothing in his eyes. Even someone like you, a genius who can last for a long time in the hands of 3 top-tier masters of the first level, can only become an outer disciple of the Red Cloud branch. As for inner disciples, the requirements are much higher than outer disciples. After all, in the past, the price of resources spent by the Red Cloud branch to nurture an inner disciple alone would not be lower than the entire wealth of an ultimate ruler. Moreover, these inner disciples have a certain chance of being valued by their master and receiving his true teachings. This has led to countless geniuses in the vast universe trying their best to join the Red Cloud branch to become inner disciples. However, even at the peak of the Red Cloud branch, the total number of inner disciples added up is only a few dozen. You can imagine how difficult it is to become an inner disciple of the Red Cloud branch. Hearing this, Jian Wushuang's face became extremely solemn. Indeed, according to Lord Wu, the cost of cultivating an inner disciple of the Red Cloud branch was comparable to the entire wealth of an ultimate-level ruler. This price was indeed too high. Naturally, the requirements were even higher. In the peak of the Red Cloud branch, there were only a few dozen inner disciples. This further proved the difficulty of becoming an inner disciple. Without a doubt, the dozens of people who could become inner disciples of the Red Cloud branch must be the most monstrous super genius in the vast universe. Little guy, since you've come this far, I might as well tell you that as a principles master, if you want to become an inner disciple of the Red Cloud branch, the threshold is to comprehend a trace of the universe principles. As long as you comprehend a trace of the universe principles, you can easily pass the test of the second heaven. There's no other way, Lord Wu said. What? Jian Wushuang widened his eyes. Why? Are you scared? Lord Wu looked at Jian Wushuang with interest. Yes. Jian Wushuang nodded. He was indeed scared. He had comprehended a trace of universe principles. After all, even a ruler who could comprehend a trace of universe principles was extremely heaven-defying. Like Devil Flame, he was an ultimate ruler. However, he met a ruler who had comprehended a trace of universe principles and was chased by him. That was why his divine body was destroyed and only his remnant soul escaped. He had been struggling for his life for a very long time. One could imagine that a ruler who had comprehended a trace of a universe principles was an extremely abnormal being, and he was destined to become a top-tier great being among rulers. Rulers were all like this, yet he was only a principles master now. To ask a principles master to comprehend a trace of a universe principles was absolutely a fool's dream. Actually, in the beginning, the requirements for the second sky trial of the Red Cloud world weren't that outrageous. It's just that Master might have been dissatisfied with the quality of the inner disciples of the Red Cloud lineage, or perhaps it was because Master wanted to take in true disciples, so he intentionally raised the requirements. Unfortunately, not long after he raised the requirements, that great battle broke out. Master died, and the requirements for the Red Cloud world trial couldn't be changed back. Lord Wu said seriously. Of course, although the requirement for a principles master to comprehend a trace of universe principles is indeed very demanding and incredible, the universe is too big and vast, and there are endless geniuses. It's not impossible for such a principles master to comprehend a trace of universe principles in the universe, but it's relatively rare. In the vast universe, there are different levels of geniuses. Among them, principles masters who can comprehend a trace of universe principles are among the top ones. Only one in a billion star worlds can appear. Only one out of billions of star worlds appears? Jian Wushuang was shocked. He did not travel to the depths of the universe, so he did not know how big the universe was. He also did not know how many star fields and star worlds there were in the universe. However, just the number of billions of star worlds was enough to be exaggerated. After all, the divine beginning realm was only a third-class star world. It was only one out of billions of star worlds. Even in his current star field, there were only dozens of astral worlds. There was only a chance for a genius to appear in billions of astral worlds. The quality of this genius was too high. Little guy, you don't have to worry too much. According to my estimation, even if you can't compare to a super genius that only appears in billions of astral worlds, the difference is not too great, Lord Wu said. Ha! Jian Wushuang immediately looked over. You're at the edge of the universe. The strongest here is at most a second-level ruler. Moreover, you're not qualified to come into contact with the universe, nor do you have a perfect cultivation system or a complete inheritance. Most of the cultivators in your star field rely on themselves to explore and cultivate. The only chance they have is to come here through the chaotic flow of the universe to some battlefield fragments. In such a harsh environment, you can pass the first heaven's test. Your talent is naturally extraordinary, and in the second heaven, which is now on this island, there are many opportunities. These opportunities will be of great help to you. With your talent, you might be able to pass the test of the second heaven if you spend some time with these opportunities, Lord Wu said. Although Lord Wu said it casually, Jian Wushuang still felt immense pressure. No matter what, I must get the heart of the astral world and the principal's treasure, Jian Wushuang said with a fierce look in his eyes. Little guy, let's not talk about the second heaven test for now. You can choose any of the 36 secret skills, Lord Wu said. Jian Wushuang nodded and then began to explore the 36 secret skills. The 36 secret skills were recorded in the 36 tokens, so Jian Wushuang could only explore them one by one. The 36 secret skills were all powerful secret skills accumulated by the Red Cloud branch. Any one of them was powerful enough to drive a 4th level or even 5th level ruler crazy. Jian Wushuang browsed through them and found that they were indeed very impressive. Some secret skills were not much weaker than his supreme immortal celestial body. There were a total of 36 secret skills of various kinds, including powerful offensive secret skills, domain or suppression secret skills, protective secret skills, and so on. Jian Wushuang's eyes lit up. After all, there were many secret skills that he could use. For example, there was a unique sword principle secret skill among these secret skills. Although Jian Wushuang did not cultivate it, he knew from the information that it was enough to make his swordsmanship more powerful. Unfortunately, the threshold of this sword principle secret skill was very high, and he had to spend a lot of money to condense a natal divine sword. The natal divine sword was not an ordinary natal divine sword. It had to reach the level of a principal's supreme treasure. Jian Wushuang did not have a principal's supreme treasure, so naturally, he could only be envious of this secret skill. There was also an extremely powerful secret skill in the area of consciousness. This secret skill could not only greatly increase the strength of one's consciousness, but it could also release a terrifying consciousness attack. That consciousness attack could ignore the obstruction of the soul. It was the same as the three-eyed demon woman's consciousness attack on the peak of heaven-treading mountain. Jian Wushuang had experienced the three-eyed demon woman's consciousness attack. Not only was it extremely powerful, but it was also unstoppable. Of course, Jian Wushuang also yearned for such a secret skill. If he suddenly used this consciousness attack while fighting with an expert, the other party would not be able to detect it in time and might be hit. However, although this consciousness secret skill was good, the minimum cultivation threshold was the ruler level. Moreover, it was not an ordinary ruler. At the very least, it had to be at least a second-level ruler. He was still far from being a first-level ruler, let alone a second-level one. Of course, he could not cultivate this secret skill of consciousness. These secret skills are worthy of the long accumulation of the Red Cloud bloodline. Any one of them is very impressive. However, the requirement to cultivate these secret skills is too high. Although I have 36 secret skills, there are only a few that I can cultivate now. I can't cultivate any of the secret skills that I like that are of great use to me. Jian Wushuang frowned. Little guy, you're worried. You don't know which secret skill to choose, do you? Lord Wu looked at him. Yes. Jian Wushuang nodded. Among the 36 secret skills, I can only cultivate about 10 at most. However, I don't really desire these 10 secret skills. I don't know which one to choose. Haha. I can't help it. You're just a principal's master and your realm is too low. If you've reached the ruler level, even if you're a first-level ruler, you'll be able to cultivate many more secret skills. Lord Wu laughed. Suddenly, his expression changed. Little guy, if you can't make up your mind, how about I recommend one to you? Jian Wushuang looked at Lord Wu immediately. Lord Wu, which secret skill do you think I should cultivate now? Take a look at this one. Lord Wu waved his hand, and one of the 36 tokens appeared in front of Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang immediately checked the secret skill information in the token. Secret skill, Dragon Extermination, Divine Power Burning Secret Skill. Jian Wushuang's pupils constricted. As the name implied, the Divine Power Burning Secret Skill was a secret skill that burned one's own divine power by force, greatly increasing the consumption of one's own divine power, so that one's strength could reach a new level in a short period of time. Jian Wushuang had briefly seen this secret skill before, but he did not pay much attention to it. After all, each of the 36 secret skills was very impressive, and most of them were used to directly improve one's strength or various means. As for this divine power burning secret skill, it required a large amount of divine power as a price to be used. Compared to other secret skills that were used directly, this divine power burning secret skill was obviously inferior. Therefore, Jian Wushuang did not really care about this secret skill. He did not expect that Lord Wu would recommend this secret skill to him. Lord Wu, is this dragon-killing secret skill very powerful? Jian Wushuang looked at Lord Wu. Of course it's powerful. Lord Wu smiled. Little guy, you haven't really explored the vast universe, so you don't know much. In the vast universe, the divine power burning secret skill is relatively rare. At least it's much rarer than other offensive or protective secret skills. And godly power burning technique needs a huge amount of godly power as the foundation, and the consumption of godly power is too huge. Usually, a cultivator's godly power will be completely exhausted not long after he uses the godly power burning technique. Therefore, almost all the cultivators in the universe use the godly power burning technique as their trump card. It's the kind of technique that can only be used to fight for their lives. However, it is undeniable that the divine power burning secret skill is very powerful. For example, a master of the first level, once he uses the divine power burning secret skill, his strength will increase by 100-fold. In a short period of time, he will have the battle strength of a master of the second level. Even a master of the fourth level, after using the divine power burning secret skill, will be able to barely reach the threshold of a master of the fifth level. The burning of divine power can indeed reach this stage. Jian Wushuang was not surprised. If it were anyone else, I would not recommend the dragon-killing secret skill, but you are different. Lord Wu looked at Jian Wushuang calmly. Little guy, you are a perfect life-level cultivator. Your divine power is hundreds or even thousands of times more powerful than that of other cultivators of the same level. In other words, if an ordinary principles master can only maintain the burning of divine power for one breath, you can maintain it for hundreds or even thousands of breaths. Of course, there are too many changes in a battle, and you can't only use one method that consumes divine power. Even if your divine power is hundreds or thousands of times more vast than ordinary cultivators, you can't be so extravagant as to recklessly use this divine power burning secret technique. But no matter what, if you have this divine power burning secret technique, it will be much more convenient than other cultivators. Other cultivators, even if they have the divine power burning secret skill, use it as their ultimate trump card to fight for their lives. But you can use it as long as you feel it's necessary. After all, you have a lot of divine power, so it's not a big deal even if you burn 10 to 20% of it, Lord Wu said. Jian Wushuang nodded secretly and began to think about it in his heart. Indeed, compared to ordinary cultivators, he had a huge advantage in divine power. The divine power burning secret skill could last for a long time even if he burned it at all costs. With his strength, an ordinary life and death battle would not last long. It might even end in an instant. In his hands, the divine power burning secret skill could become a sharp blade. It was also a big trump card, and it could last much longer than ordinary cultivators. It's decided. I want the dragon exterminating secret skill. Jian Wushuang had made up his mind. After careful consideration, he confirmed that among the 36 secret skills, he could only cultivate more than 10 of them. Among the 10 secret skills, the dragon exterminating secret skill should be the most helpful to his strength. According to Lord Wu, the divine power burning secret skill was extremely rare in the universe. If he missed it this time, he would not know whether he could get another divine power burning secret skill next time. Little guy, trust me. You won't regret choosing the dragon-killing secret skill, Lord Wu said with certainty. Jian Wushuang smiled. Then he received the information of the dragon-killing secret skill according to Lord Wu's instructions. Although the dragon-killing secret skill was recorded in the token, Jian Wushuang could not take it directly. Instead, under the guidance of Lord Wu, the information in the token entered his mind and formed a memory. Soon, the complete information method of the dragon exterminating secret skill was completely imprinted in Jian Wushuang's mind. This dragon exterminating secret skill is actually so powerful. After completely receiving the information of the dragon exterminating secret skill, Jian Wushuang was shocked and overjoyed. He had thought that the dragon exterminating secret skill was just a simple method to burn divine power. He did not expect that the dragon exterminating secret skill could burn divine power in different levels. The dragon exterminating secret skill was divided into 3 volumes. The first volume could be cultivated by the principal's master. After burning divine power, one's strength would increase by 100 times. The second volume could be cultivated by the ruler. The burning speed of divine power would increase by 10 times, and the strength would increase by 1,000 times. In the third volume, the burning speed of divine power was increased by 100 times, and the strength was increased by 10,000 times. Terrifying! It's too terrifying! Jian Wushuang shouted. At the level of principal's master, his strength was increased by 100 times, and at the level of ruler and master it was increased by 1,000 times and 10,000 times. Of course, the burning of divine power could only increase the power. As for his understanding of the Tao and understanding of the universe principles, he had not improved his ultimate moves. Moreover, in the second and third volumes, the burning of divine power would also increase by 10 times or 100 times, which meant that the consumption of divine power was increasing. Even so, it was still very abnormal. I'm now a principal's master, so I can cultivate the first volume. Once I succeed, my battle strength will be at the level of a superior ruler. Once I use the dragon-killing secret skill to increase my power by 100 times, my battle strength will be able to soar to the level of a second-level ruler. I'm afraid that among the second-level rulers, I'm not weak, but I'm at the level of an advanced or even superior ruler. Jian Wushuang clenched his hands. His eyes were shining brightly. He felt that as long as he mastered this secret skill, his battle strength would be able to reach a new level. In the future, even if the Devil Cloud Star Master came to kill him personally, he would be more confident in dealing with him. Although this dragon-killing secret skill is powerful, it's not too complicated. You just need to spend some time to master the first volume. Of course, you don't need to cultivate now. After all, this is the Red Cloud world. You won't encounter any danger here, and you won't be able to use the dragon-killing secret skill in the second heaven. So it's not too late for you to cultivate when you leave the Red Cloud world or when you're about to leave, Lord Wu said. Yes. Jian Wushuang nodded slightly. By the way, Lord Wu, you said that there are many opportunities in the second heaven? What opportunities are there? Jian Wushuang asked. The opportunities in the second heaven are on this island. Lord Wu smiled. Although this island is small, it contains countless opportunities. Some of these opportunities are left behind by experts of the Red Cloud lineage. Of course, most of them come from the outside world and are of a very high level. Of course, your strength is still too weak, and you haven't even comprehended the universe principles. You can only see a little of the opportunities in the second heaven, but even if it's just a little, it should be of great help to you. For example, the sword stone that was born in the first heaven during the opening of the Red Cloud world. Sword stone. Jian Wushuang's expression changed. He had studied the sword stone in the first heaven for 5,000 years. During these 5,000 years, not only had his comprehension of the sword principle origin improved greatly, but he had also perfected his earth protection sword skill. It could be said that the sword stone was very helpful to him, and it contained a total of 4 sword skills. He had only comprehended 1 sword skill before comprehending the body-protecting sword skill. If he was not worried that the Red Cloud world would only open for 10,000 years, he did not want to waste too much time on the sword stone. Otherwise, he would have studied the other 3 sword skills under the sword stone. Is the sword stone related to the second heaven? Jian Wushuang could not help asking. Yes. Lord Wu nodded. In the first heaven of the Red Cloud world, there will occasionally be some special opportunities. In fact, these special opportunities do not belong to the first heaven, but come from the second heaven. For example, the sword stone comes from the second heaven. There is not only 1 sword stone, but a total of 11 sword stones. On each sword stone, there are 4 golden characters. Each golden character has a sword skill that has reached the pinnacle of a ruler. Hearing this, Jian Wushuang immediately became excited. Each of the 11 sword stones was engraved with 4 golden characters. Each golden character contained a swordsmanship that had reached the ultimate level of a ruler. Jian Wushuang knew very well how strong the swordsmanship in the swordstone was. It was because he had grasped the universe origin of sword principle that he was barely able to observe some of the mysteries and concepts in the swordsmanship. However, what he could see was only the tip of the iceberg. Even if it was just the tip of the iceberg, it had greatly improved his sword principle and swordsmanship. And there were 11 sword stones like this. Those sword stones are the most important ones on this island, but they are only one of the many opportunities on this island. They are not the most precious opportunities. As for the other opportunities, you can explore them yourself, Lord Wu said. Lord Wu, how long can I stay on this island? Jian Wushuang asked. It's up to you. You can stay as long as you want. And even if you leave now, you can come in any time, Lord Wu said. Great. Jian Wushuang's eyes were shining with joy. Go. Lord Wu waved his hand. Jian Wushuang bowed slightly to Lord Wu and then impatiently went to look for the many opportunities on the island. Lord Wu looked at Jian Wushuang's back and revealed a meaningful smile. This little guy has an extremely rare and perfect life form in the universe, which can also be said to be rare in the billions of star worlds. His comprehension talent is also very good. I'm afraid such a super genius is no worse than a monster that can only appear in the billions of star worlds. If Master is still alive, he would be very happy to see such a genius and would want to take him as a successor disciple. Lord Wu murmured. Although he did not praise Jian Wushuang's talent when he told him about it, he said that there were people in the vast universe who were more talented than him. He even mentioned that there might not even be one super genius in the billions of star worlds. Even though he said so, Lord Wu knew very well that there might not even be one super genius in the billions of star worlds. It was very rare in the entire universe. As long as one of them appeared, the top powers in the deepest parts of the universe, those top overlords, which of them would not go crazy and fight for it? His master, Patriarch Red Cloud, was once a top expert. He was able to open his own divine kingdom and was a big figure in the deepest parts of the universe. However, compared to those top-tier universe overlords, he was still inferior. Because of this, it was not his master's turn to take in a super genius who could only appear in billions of star worlds as a disciple in the universe. When Patriarch Red Cloud changed the threshold of the test in the Red Cloud world, he only had a glimmer of hope. Now, Jian Wushuang came to the Red Cloud world. Although he might not be as talented as the super genius who might not even exist in billions of star worlds, in terms of potential, he might be more powerful than that super genius. It was even greater than that of the super genius. If his master was still alive, he would definitely pay great attention to a genius with such potential. Unfortunately, his master, Patriarch Red Cloud, had died long ago, and the Red Cloud branch had declined. Even the divine kingdom had collapsed. Most importantly, Patriarch Red Cloud had not been able to leave his inheritance in time, which meant there was no inheritance of Patriarch Red Cloud in the Red Cloud world. Otherwise, Lord Wu would have long considered letting Jian Wushuang inherit Patriarch Red Cloud's legacy. I hope this little guy can really pass the test of the second heaven with the help of the various opportunities in the second heaven. If he passes, although I can only do things according to the rules, I can give him some better advice so that he can get more benefits. Lord Wu sighed softly. With a flash, he disappeared from the spot. On an island in the second heaven of the Red Cloud world, Jian Wushuang flew casually above the island. He had released his soul power and kept looking down at everything below. There were all kinds of opportunities on the island. Jian Wushuang did see some places where opportunities should exist, but he did not stay. Instead, he kept moving forward. Soon, he came to the center of the island, where he saw the pile of swordstones mentioned by Lord Wu. Sure enough, there were 10 sword stones floating calmly in the air. There were ancient and ethereal golden characters on each sword stone. Each sword stone had 4 golden characters, and each golden character contained an extremely powerful sword skill. In addition to the sword stone that was born in the first heaven, there were 11 sword stones, which added up to a total of 44 heaven-shaking sword skills. The sword stone that was born in the first heaven of the Red Cloud world alone is enough to drive many cultivators who are proficient in sword principle crazy. But there are 10 sword stones here. Jian Wushuang smiled. He immediately rushed toward the 10 sword stones. When he came to the sword stones and looked at the ancient and elegant golden characters on them, Jian Wushuang did not hesitate and immediately sank his consciousness into them. In an instant, the golden characters began to evolve into sword skills in his mind. The world-shaking and terrifying sword skills were continuously practiced in Jian Wushuang's mind. So powerful, so terrifying. These sword skills are simply incredible. Jian Wushuang looked at the sword skills that evolved from the golden words. Without a doubt, these sword skills were not inferior to the 4 sword skills he had seen on the sword stone of the first heaven. Even with his current comprehension of the sword principle origin, he could only peek at some of these sword skills. But even the surface of these skills was enough to shock him. This sword skill is as fast as the wind, shaped like fire, and can cause the world to collapse. This sword skill has directly formed a boundless sword principle domain. This sword skill can destroy everything with one strike. Jian Wushuang was extremely excited. He knew very well that any one of the sword skills contained in these 10 sword stones was unfathomable to him. Even if he studied them for a long time, he could not comprehend 10 to 20% of the sword skills, let alone so many sword skills, not to mention so many sword skills. There's no rush. There are more opportunities on this island than just this sword stone. I'll go and look for other opportunities first. Jian Wushuang took a deep breath and released his consciousness from the sword stone. He immediately stood up and flew toward the surrounding void. On this island, he began to look for other opportunities. There were many opportunities in the second heaven, and they were everywhere. Moreover, they were not hidden. Naturally, it was very easy for him to look for them. Soon, he found all kinds of opportunities on the island. What is this? A vortex. Jian Wushuang looked at the huge blood-colored vortex in front of him in surprise. The blood-colored vortex was thousands of miles wide and looked like an open bloody mouth. It was extremely ferocious and terrifying. On this island that was only hundreds of thousands of miles wide, the blood-colored vortex that covered thousands of miles was extremely eye-catching. Besides the sword stone, the first place Jian Wushuang found was this blood-colored vortex. This vortex doesn't seem to be dangerous, Jian Wushuang muttered. First of all, although the blood-colored vortex looked terrifying, it did not give Jian Wushuang any sense of danger. Moreover, Lord Wu had said that the second heaven only contained opportunities, and there was no danger. Naturally, he did not need to be too vigilant or worried. After hesitating for a moment, Jian Wushuang slowly walked toward the core of the vortex. He did not encounter any obstacles. When he appeared at the core of the blood-red vortex, a huge ancient picture appeared in front of him. In the picture, a blood-red figure held a saber in one hand. Suddenly, he swung his saber. Whoosh! It was a beautiful and extremely experienced saber move. Jian Wushuang's mind was instantly attracted by this saber move. At this moment, Jian Wushuang even felt that his entire consciousness and soul were about to be forcefully split apart by this saber move. A monstrous fear involuntarily emerged in his heart. He was completely stunned and could not move. He was completely intimidated by the shocking saber in the ancient picture. It was not until the saber light in the ancient picture completely disappeared that Jian Wushuang managed to recover. Terrifying, too terrifying. I've never seen such a terrifying saber. Jian Wushuang looked at the ancient picture in horror. In the picture, the blood-red figure had already put away the saber, but Jian Wushuang would never forget the feeling of that moment. At that moment, it felt as if his soul and consciousness were about to be forcefully split apart. Without a doubt, it was a shocking move. Peerless saber skill. The person who used this saber skill must be an expert at the supreme level. Absolutely. Jian Wushuang was absolutely sure. Although the blood-red figure was not a supreme-level expert, the saber skill he used was definitely at the supreme level. Such a saber technique has a complete ancient picture, and you can even feel the essence and mystery contained in it. Even you will be shocked by it. If an expert who is good at saber principle were to look at this ancient picture and comprehend it, his understanding of saber principle would definitely improve at an incredible speed, and so would his saber technique. Unfortunately, I'm not good at saber principle. Jian Wushuang shook his head. Without a doubt, The ancient scene at the core of the blood-red vortex was a great opportunity for any saber principle cultivator. But for Jian Wushuang, who was good at sword principle, it was not very useful. Shaking his head, Jian Wushuang walked out of the blood-red vortex and quickly went to another place. Statues? Jian Wushuang raised his head and looked at the statues standing side by side in front of him. There were 4 statues, each of which was extremely huge and towering, with a height of more than 300 meters. Jian Wushuang could feel the existence of an extremely dense rule power from the 4 statues. Master, this is the statue of Wu God. The voice of Devil Flame suddenly sounded in Jian Wushuang's mind. Statue of Wu God? Jian Wushuang was stunned. What is Wu God? Wu God is an extremely unique and powerful special life form in the universe. This kind of special life form is very unique. They are born to be favored by the principles of heaven and earth. They don't need to comprehend the principles of heaven and earth. As long as they grow slowly and reach the peak stage, they will naturally comprehend 9 rules and merge all 9 rules to become a ruler at the ultimate level. Devil Flame said. What? Jian Wushuang was shocked. He did not need to comprehend the principles. As long as he reached the peak, he would naturally understand the 9 principles and fuse them perfectly. How could there be such a heaven-defying special life form in the universe? No, since it's a special life form, it should be unique. But you just said that there's more than one Wu God. Jian Wushuang frowned. Master, you misunderstand. Wu God is just a general name for this kind of special life form. Although they are all Wu Gods, the principles they comprehend and integrate with each other are different. After all, there are many kinds of heaven and earth principles. Even if each Wu God has comprehended and integrated 9 principles, it can still create many Wu Gods, Devil Flame said. Is that so? Jian Wushuang understood. Yes, they were both gods. One had comprehended the 9 rules, while the other had comprehended the other 9 rules. Of course, they were different. It's because gods are blessed that their divine bodies are so precious. Let alone a complete divine body, even a scale on their body represents the essence of the fusion of the 9 rules. Therefore, in the universe, a scale at its peak is extremely valuable. Later, some cultivators used the scales of the Wu God to transform them into statues of the Wu God. Although they were statues, they still contained the essence of the fusion of 9 principles. Therefore, Master, you can see the 4 statues of the Wu God in front of you now. Each one of them contains a rich power of principles. If you carefully sense them, you can even sense the fusion of 9 different principles on each statue of the Wu God. Master, you are only at the level of a principles master. If you want to break through to become a ruler, you must understand and integrate more principles. The Wu God statue is of great use to you. Master, you can experience the integration of the 9 rules on the Wu God statue. The 4 Wu God statues represent different principles of heaven and earth. Even the director can experience them, Devil Flame said. He paused. Jian Wushuang's eyes had already lit up. The statue of Wu God has fused 9 different principles perfectly? Jian Wushuang was excited. Yes, he had not become a ruler yet. Even if he had become a ruler, he would need to fuse more principles of heaven and earth to increase his strength. However, the statue of Wu God contained the fusion of 9 principles. He could even experience the fusion process of the 9 rules. It was a rare opportunity for him. The statue is of great use to me, Jian Wushuang said in a deep voice. Although it was of great use, Jian Wushuang was not in a hurry to comprehend it. Instead, he continued to look for other opportunities on the island. There were so many opportunities on the island. Sword stones, ancient scenes in the blood-red vortex, and the statue of Wu God were just one of them. Jian Wushuang searched the island and easily found all kinds of opportunities. In the blink of an eye, 3 days passed. Jian Wushuang searched the entire island and found nearly 100 opportunities. There were all kinds of opportunities. They were not only for improving one's strength and cultivation, but also for comprehending the principles of the universe, the principles of heaven and earth, and various Taos. There were even opportunities to temper one's consciousness and soul strength. Many of them were very helpful to Jian Wushuang. As for sword principle, there were 3 opportunities on the island that were helpful to the improvement of sword principle, and swordstone was just one of them. Strange, there are all kinds of opportunities on the island. There are even opportunities to deepen the comprehension of the universe principles, but there are none that can help a cultivator to cross the threshold of the universe principles. Jian Wushuang frowned. He had to master a trace of the universe principles to pass the test of the second heaven. Therefore, he was naturally eager to find opportunities on the island that could help him master a trace of the universe principles and cross the threshold of the universe principles as soon as possible. However, Jian Wushuang did not find such opportunities on the island. On the contrary, there were several opportunities on the island that could help him deepen his understanding of the universe principles. The key point was that Jian Wushuang had not even grasped a trace of the universe principles and had not really stepped into the threshold of the universe principles, so how could he deepen it? In other words, if an expert had already comprehended the universe principles, he could continue to improve on the island with the help of opportunities. But for a cultivator like Jian Wushuang who had not grasped a trace of the universe principles, he could not find any opportunities on the island that would allow him to grasp a trace of the universe principles as soon as possible. If I think about it carefully, maybe Patriarch Red Cloud deliberately arranged it this way, Jian Wushuang muttered. He understood that, for a principles master, the test of the second heaven was to grasp a trace of the universe principles. Under this standard, if the island of the second heaven still had a shortcut that could allow him to quickly comprehend a trace of the universe principles, then the test of the second heaven would be a little too easy. Although there are no shortcuts, there are too many opportunities on this island. There are even many opportunities to deepen my understanding of the universe principles. Among these opportunities, I can more or less feel the existence of the universe principles. It's much easier to comprehend it than just relying on myself, Jian Wushuang thought. Let's begin to comprehend it. Jian Wushuang took a deep breath and soon began to cultivate on the island. Time passed quietly. Jian Wushuang stayed in the second heaven and took advantage of the opportunity on the island to meditate carefully and increase his strength. However, in the first heaven, many experts in the star field were still crazily fighting for the supreme treasures. As the supreme treasures were born one by one, the competition for the supreme treasures in the Red Cloud world became more and more intense and crazier. Especially in the last 1,000 years, because there were only 1,000 years left, there were obviously not many treasures that were born, so the competition became more and more intense. And in this frenzied competition, the deadline of 10,000 years in Red Cloud world was slowly approaching. In the blink of an eye, there were only 10 years left to the deadline of 10,000 years. In the last 10 years, the first sky of Red Cloud world began to gradually calm down, and the rush for true treasures had gradually subsided. Now, most of the cultivators in the first sky had gathered on the 7th continent, and they had all come to the foot of Heaven-Treading Mountain. The legend of the Red Cloud world had long been known in this star field. Everyone knew that Heaven-Treading Mountain was a test. Since it was a test, passing it would naturally bring great benefits. It was precisely because of this, in the last 10 years, most of the experts of this star field would choose to come to the foot of the Heaven-Treading Mountain to try and pass it. Although it had been several chaos cycles since the Red Cloud world had appeared in this star field, no one had ever set foot on the peak of the Heaven-Treading Mountain. Everyone knew that they had to pass the trial of the Heaven-Treading Mountain. It was virtually impossible, but everyone was still willing to give it a try. After all, what if their luck was heaven-defying and they passed? Heaven-Treading Mountain. In a pavilion at the foot of the mountain, a black-robed man was calmly sitting there. In front of the black-robed man was a densely packed long dragon. Countless cultivators walked up the stairs to the pavilion and accepted the black-robed man's trial. After a short moment, the black-clothed man and the purple-clothed youth in front of him opened their eyes at the same time. The moment they opened their eyes, the purple-clothed youth's face turned slightly pale. Weak, truly too weak. The black-clothed man's expression was cold as he stared at the purple-clothed youth in front of him. You don't even need me to make a move. Just the divine might alone will crush you. With such strength, you dare to challenge the Heaven-Treading Mountain? Scram! The black-robed man did not hold back in his berating. The purple-robed young man's expression was ugly, but there was nothing he could do. Just now, in the space of consciousness, the black-robed man had indeed not made a move. Just the casual pressure he released was enough to suppress him to the point of kneeling down. Both sides did not even need to make a move before he lost. There was nothing he could do. The black-robed man was guarding the foot of the mountain. Although this was the simplest stage of heaven-treading mountain, when facing the challenger of a principal's master, the combat power he unleashed was still at the pinnacle of a beginner ruler. His power was also at the elementary ruler realm, and the divine might of a ruler was something that an ordinary principal's master would not be able to withstand. Next, the black-robed man spoke. Immediately, more people came to challenge him. Too weak. Too weak. It's been so long, and there are already thousands of people taking the test in front of me. But up until now, I haven't even taken anyone seriously. This star field is really trash. Although the black-clothed man said this, he knew in his heart that this star field was not that bad. At least, not long ago, someone had easily passed through his hands. Moreover, he had received news that that person had passed the test of the heaven-treading mountain and entered the second heaven. In the last 10 years of the first heaven, a large number of cultivators had tried the test of the heaven-treading mountain. In the end, after 5 years, not a single person passed the trial at the foot of heaven-treading mountain. It was not until the 6th year that someone finally passed the trial guarded by the black-clothed man. This person was a ruler Kuan-Yu, a peak ruler who had long become famous in this star field. It was rumored that he was not the ruler of this star field, but came from another star field. It was only because he saw the existence of the 3 great battlefields in this star field. He had always stayed here. Ruler Kuan-Yu was a solitary expert who had never joined any faction before. Over the years, he had been adventuring in the 3 battlefields in search of treasures and opportunities, and his strength had been constantly increasing. There had been rumors that he had fought with the Northern Sea Palace's Sky Rock ruler, but no one knew who had won. And today, Ruler Kuan-Yu had passed the test at the foot of the mountain. It was obvious that he had won that battle back then. After all, 2 years ago, Ruler Sky Rock had come to challenge the test at the foot of the mountain. Although he had fought with the black-clothed man for a very long time in the space of consciousness, he had still been unable to defeat the black-clothed man in the end, so he had not been able to pass the test at the foot of the mountain, and since Ruler Kuan-Yu had passed, it naturally meant that he was stronger than Ruler Sky Rock. "You're still all right?" The black-robed man looked at Ruler Kuan-Yu with a faint smile. "You've clearly only fused 4 principles and are only a first-level ruler. However, your combat power is extremely strong and isn't the slightest bit inferior to a second-level ruler. In fact, even amongst the second-level primary rulers, you are extremely strong. It seems that amongst the rulers of this star field, your strength should be the strongest. Let's go up." Ruler Kuan-Yu's face was as cold as an ice mountain. Upon hearing the black-robed man's words, he nodded slightly, then began to walk up the stairs. However, the black-robed man once more spoke to everyone present. "Although the standard of your star field's cultivators is indeed very low, for 2 of you to be able to pass through my hands during the opening of the Red Cloud world is already quite impressive." Ruler Kuan-Yu's footsteps immediately came to a halt. The experts present all turned to look at the black-robed man. 2 people. Aside from Ruler Kuan-Yu, there's someone else who passed the test at the foot of the mountain? Who is that person? The sounds of discussion immediately rang out. Ruler Kuan-Yu turned to look at the black-robed man as well. "The principal's master?" "Yes." The black-clothed man nodded. He had just said that Ruler Kuan-Yu should be the strongest expert in the star field. If the same ruler had passed the test at the foot of the mountain, the black-clothed man would not be so sure. Naturally, it was the master of rules. After all, the test of heaven-treading mountain varied from person to person. Different levels of cultivation would challenge heaven-treading mountain, and the gatekeepers would show different strengths. For example, when Jian Wushuang came here to pass the test, the black-clothed man was only at the peak of the primary ruler realm. However, if the ruler came to pass his test, the battle strength he displayed would be at the peak of the superior ruler realm, or even the second level. Fortunately, the battle strength of the Kuan-Yu ruler was extremely strong among the second-level primary rulers. That was how he could pass the test. Ruler Kuan-Yu did not stay any longer, and continued to walk toward the mountainside. However, the foot of the mountain was completely in an uproar. Many cultivators were wildly discussing and guessing. Then who is the principal's master who passed the test at the foot of the mountain before ruler Kuan Yu did? If I'm not mistaken, it should be Blood Sword Master, right? Blood Sword Master? Yes, it's very likely. Among the principal's masters in this star field, the most powerful ones are Blood Sword Master and Blood Saber Emperor. If that Blood Saber Emperor goes all out, he can barely unleash the battle power of a primary ruler. Although he's very impressive, he's still far from Blood Sword Master. Blood Sword Master has the battle power of a top ruler at the level of a principal's master. With such battle power, it should be very easy for him to pass the test at the foot of the mountain. Yes, I think it's the Blood Sword Master. I don't think any other principal's master could pass the test at the foot of the mountain. The Blood Saber Emperor came here a year ago and failed. Most of the cultivators in the star field believed that the principal's master who passed the test at the foot of Heaven-Treading Mountain before the ruler of the Devil Realm was Jian Wushuang. This was normal. After all, Jian Wushuang had shown his true strength. The ruler of the Devil Realm also believed that he had the battle strength of a superior ruler. It was unbelievable that a principal's master had the battle strength of a superior ruler. It was so heaven-defying that the test at the foot of Heaven-Treading Mountain could not stop him. Now, many cultivators in the star field were guessing whether Jian Wushuang had just passed the test at the foot of the mountain, or whether he had also passed the test at the mountainside and even reached the peak, he had gone to the second heaven. Everyone was guessing. Some of them even tried to ask Jian Wushuang's friends. For example, some masters asked Taoist Shen God, Temporal Temple Master, and the others to find out the answer from them. After all, this was not a trivial matter. If Jian Wushuang had only passed the test at the foot of the mountain, it would not be a big deal. Even if he passed the test at the mountainside, although it was amazing, it would not cause too much of a stir. However, if he really stepped on the peak of Heaven-Treading Mountain and went to the second heaven, that was something that no one in this star field had ever reached in the long years. The first heaven of the Red Cloud world contained endless supreme treasures, which was enough to drive many cultivators crazy. What was in the second heaven? Almost all the cultivators in this star field were full of longing and desire for the second heaven, but they just could not go there. Could be imagined that if the news of Jian Wushuang going to the second heaven was confirmed, it would set off a huge wave in this star field. Everyone, another ruler came to see me. He also asked if the heavenly marquis had entered the second heaven of the Red Cloud world. According to our agreement, he passed the two tests at the foot of the Heaven-Treading Mountain and the mountainside, but he failed to pass the tests at the peak. Naturally, he could not enter the second heaven. Now, he has left the Red Cloud world and is on his way back to our star palace. Taoist Shen God exchanged messages with Jian Wushuang, Temporal Temple Master, Heaven-Cleaving Alliance Master, and the Heaven Ancestor. Haha! Another one. This must be the 8th ruler who came to ask you, right? Temporal Temple Master laughed loudly. Not only you, but also quite a few people came to ask you for information, Taoist Shen God said with a smile. Jian Wushuang had passed the 3 tests of Heaven-Treading Mountain and entered the second heaven of the Red Cloud world. Naturally, Taoist Shen God, Temporal Temple Master, Heaven-Cleaving Alliance Master, and the Heaven Ancestor knew about this. After all, they were on the same side as Jian Wushuang, so he had nothing to hide from them. After hearing the news, even the 4 rulers were excited for half a day. At the same time, they also learned from Jian Wushuang that he had gained a lot of benefits in the second heaven. Even now, he was in the midst of an opportunity, but Jian Wushuang did not tell them what he had gained. They did not ask. Because they had considered that some people would doubt whether Jian Wushuang had entered the second heaven, they had already agreed on the story. They all said that Jian Wushuang had only passed the test at the foot of the mountain and the mountainside, but he had lost in the test at the peak. Could not be helped. If Jian Wushuang was told that he had passed the 3 trials of Heaven-Treading Mountain and entered the second heaven, it would definitely cause a huge wave in the star field. Moreover, Jian Wushuang would definitely be targeted by many people with ulterior motives. Although Jian Wushuang did not need to fear anything in this star field with his current strength, it was still better to be cautious. Now they said that Jian Wushuang had passed the first 2 trials of Heaven-Treading Mountain, but it was appropriate for him to be defeated in the 3rd trial, which was the trial at the peak. After all, until now, No one in this star field except Jian Wushuang could pass the trial at the mountainside. Many cultivators in this star field, as strong as ruler Kuan-Yu, could only struggle a little in the trial at the mountainside, and they could not pass it at all. No one in this star field was sure whether there was a third test on the peak. With Jian Wushuang's heaven-defying strength, it was acceptable for him to pass the test at the foot of the mountain and the mountainside, but he could not pass the test on the peak. Even if some people still did not believe it, there was no need to explain too much. My young friend, the Red Cloud world is about to close again, but you said that you would still stay in the Red Cloud world? Taoist Shen God suddenly asked. Yes. Jian Wushuang nodded. The Red Cloud world is not as simple as we thought. After passing the trial of Heaven-Treading Mountain, I am qualified to enter the Red Cloud world at any time. From now on, I can stay in the second heaven for a long time to cultivate. Therefore, you too can return to the Star Palace without waiting outside. When you return to the Star Palace, just announce to the public that I am in closed-door cultivation, Jian Wushuang said. Okay. Temporal Temple Master nodded. In that case, Temporal and I won't wait for you. We'll go back first. The Heaven-Cleaving Alliance Master laughed heartily. The two of them already knew that Jian Wushuang had gone to the second heaven, and they did not have the strength to go to the second heaven. Therefore, they did not even bother to go to Heaven-Treading Mountain and were ready to leave the Red Cloud world. My young friend, how long will you stay in the Red Cloud world? The Heaven Ancestor suddenly asked. I don't know, but I don't think it will take too long, Jian Wushuang said calmly. By the way, when I return from the Red Cloud world, I will bring a surprise to everyone. Surprise! Taoist Shen God, Temporal Temple Master, Heaven-Cleaving Alliance Master, and the Heaven Ancestor were all surprised. Haha, what? Did you not only get an opportunity in the second heaven, but also something we can use? Heaven-Cleaving Alliance Master said with a smile. Can you bring us some supreme treasures from the second heaven? Taoist Shen God teased. Jian Wushuang did not say much. After chatting for a while, he ended the communication. In the second heaven, Jian Wushuang put away the transmission token and shook his head with a smile. I'm afraid Shen God and the others don't know. The surprise I'm going to give them is the strongest supreme treasure. Jian Wushuang smiled slightly. Lord Wu had promised him that he could pick some supreme treasures to bring back before he left. The supreme treasures mentioned by Lord Wu, such as the supreme-grade supreme treasures like the celestial light wings, might not be worth his time, but it was obvious that Lord Wu did not care about ordinary supreme treasures. He could bring a lot of them back. After all, Shen God and the others did not have many supreme treasures. He only needed to bring some supreme treasures back and let them use them. Their strength could reach a new level. The Divine Beginning Realm and Star Palace Camp would naturally be stronger. Continue to meditate. Jian Wushuang soon calmed down and continued to cultivate and meditate with the opportunity on the island of the second heaven. The last 10 years in the Red Cloud world soon passed. During these 10 years, there were countless experts who went to Heaven-Treading Mountain. However, except for Jian Wushuang who passed at the beginning and the ruler Kuan-Yu who passed later, there was no third person who passed the test at the foot of the mountain in the star field. Master Kuan-Yu had only passed the trial at the foot of the mountain, but he was easily defeated by the gatekeeper at the halfway point. When the last 10 years were up, many cultivators of the Red Cloud world left the Red Cloud world. Even if they did not want to leave, they would be sent out by the experts of the Red Cloud world. The entire Red Cloud world immediately fell silent. It would only reappear in front of the world after hundreds of millions of years when the next Red Cloud fog tide appeared. At least most of the cultivators in this star field thought so. However, only a few people knew that Jian Wushuang had appeared in the opening of the Red Cloud world. He had directly passed the test of Heaven-Treading Mountain and entered the second heaven, and he had been quietly meditating in the second heaven all these years. Time passed quietly like flowing water. In a flash, the Red Cloud world had been closed for 8,000 years. Jian Wushuang had come to the second heaven about 2,000 years before the Red Cloud world closed. In other words, he had stayed in the second heaven for more than 10,000 years. Over the past 10,000 years, he had been improving his strength with the help of various opportunities on the island in the second heaven. With the help of these opportunities, he had made great progress. In the second heaven, there was an open space on the island that spanned hundreds of thousands of miles. However, there were layers of pale purple restrictions on the open space. There were nearly 20 layers of restrictions, each of which emitted a sharp aura and was stronger than the last. Jian Wushuang sat cross-legged in front of the first restriction and closed his eyes slightly. Break! A soft moan suddenly sounded. A terrifying sword essence suddenly burst out from Jian Wushuang's body and rushed into the restriction in front of him, rampaging inside the restriction. Although this was only the first restriction, which was the weakest of all restrictions, it was difficult for even a second-level master to break this restriction. But now, under the impact of Jian Wushuang's sword essence, the restriction quickly began to collapse. After a moment, the first restriction completely disappeared. It took me 4,000 years to finally break the first restriction of sword principle. Jian Wushuang opened his eyes, full of surprise and joy. For 1,000 years. That was right, Jian Wushuang had spent 4,000 thoughts on this restriction. The restriction of sword principle was a great opportunity for sword principle on the island. Each of these restrictions required a certain level of comprehension of sword principle to be able to crack. When Jian Wushuang first arrived at the restriction of sword principle, he could only crack 1/10 of the restriction of sword principle. Over the past 4,000 years, he had gradually studied and understood it step by step. Finally, he had completely broken the first complete restriction of sword principle. Naturally, his comprehension of sword principle had also been greatly improved. I've already broken the first restriction of sword principle. As for the second restriction, Jian Wushuang also tried to break the second restriction, but after trying, he shook his head helplessly. The second restriction of sword principle is probably 10 times more complicated and difficult than the first restriction of sword principle. It's extremely difficult for me to break the first restriction of sword principle. I don't know how long it will take to break the second restriction. Jian Wushuang sighed. It took him 4,000 years to break the first restriction of sword principle alone. This was because he had a certain level of comprehension of sword principle origin, so he was able to study it step by step. The second restriction contained more profound sword principle universe origin, so it was more than 10 times more difficult to break. Jian Wushuang was not confident that he could break the second restriction in a short time. Forget it. I have benefited a lot from breaking the first restriction of sword principle. As for the second restriction of sword principle, I'll try it again when I have the chance, Jian Wushuang murmured. He had been comprehending and improving his strength through various opportunities on the island for nearly 10,000 years. After 10,000 years, he had made the greatest progress in sword principle, which was enough to break the first restriction of sword principle. It must be known that even the restriction of the first layer of sword Dao was difficult for a second-level ruler who was proficient in sword Dao to break through. In other words, his current attainments in sword Dao were no less than that of a third-level ruler. This was only in sword Dao. As for the principle, he had already completely comprehended the fourth principle, the principles of the earth. However, he had yet to perfectly fuse it with the other three principles. Although he was familiar with the integration process of temporal, reincarnation, destruction, and the earth principles under the statue of Wu God, it was obviously not that easy for him to integrate them. As for the universe principles, he still had not really mastered it. However, the aura of the universe rule he had mastered was getting stronger and stronger. Jian Wushuang understood that only supreme experts were qualified to comprehend the universe principles. Even a ruler would find it difficult to comprehend it, let alone a principles master. He could not be anxious. He could only slowly improve and comprehend them. After 10,000 years of comprehension, I feel that my strength has reached a bottleneck, especially in sword principle and other principles. Jian Wushuang frowned. He had realized that even with the help of many opportunities on the island, his progress was getting slower and slower. As he said, he had reached a bottleneck. This kind of bottleneck was not something that could be broken through simply by continuing to meditate here. It required extremely special conditions, such as epiphany, especially the kind of epiphany in life and death, which was enough to make a person undergo a qualitative transformation. What Jian Wushuang lacked now was this kind of transformation, It's been a long, long time since I've experienced the feeling of life and death. Jian Wushuang shook his head. There was nothing he could do. As his strength continued to increase, especially his life-saving ability, there was no one in this star field who could threaten him. Even if he was as strong as a ruler, he could easily crush an ordinary ruler. Even if he was a superior ruler, he would still have to deal with it seriously 10,000 years ago. But now, 10,000 years later, an ordinary superior ruler was also a threat to him. It could be said that he was completely invincible in this star field. Except for some of the most dangerous places in the 3 battlefields, no one could threaten him. Naturally, no one could force him to the brink of death. Jian Wushuang carefully recalled that the last time he was on the brink of death was a long time ago, when he had set up an inescapable net to kill him in the 3 Saint Realms on the Saha Island. That time, he was indeed on the verge of death. After that battle, he had never been forced into a desperate situation again. Now I understand why the experts in the universe chose to venture into the depths of the universe after being invincible in a star field. Indeed, being invincible in a star field means that one can no longer experience life and death experiences, and their strength will stagnate. Only by constantly taking risks and constantly challenging stronger existences can one's strength continuously increase. Jian Wushuang clenched his hands. It's a pity that I have to worry about the divine beginning realm and can't leave freely with the danger of the devil cloud star. However, I should be invincible in this star field. In that case, I can only go to the deepest part of the 3 battlefields where even the rulers are afraid. As for the red cloud world, it's time for me to leave. Jian Wushuang narrowed his eyes and made up his mind. Lord Wu, Jian Wushuang said in a clear voice. Buzz. A figure quickly condensed in the void around Jian Wushuang. It was Lord Wu who was in charge of everything in the red cloud world. Little guy, are you ready to leave? Lord Wu looked at Jian Wushuang. Yes. Jian Wushuang nodded. My progress on this island is getting slower and slower. Obviously, I have reached a bottleneck and I can't comprehend the universe principles in a short time. In that case, it's useless to stay here. I might as well go to the outside world and look for other opportunities. As for the second heaven test, I'll come back when I have comprehended a trace of the universe principles. Okay, this is the token of the red cloud world. Take this token. You can come to the red cloud world anytime in the future. Lord Wu handed a token to Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang was secretly happy to have obtained the token. After all, with this token, he could enter the red cloud world anytime in the future. The numerous opportunities in the second heaven of the red cloud world were very useful to him. Besides that, I've promised you before that you can choose some useful true treasures. I'll let you choose now. After saying that, Lord Wu waved his hand, and an ancient black tower appeared in his hand. This black tower was divided into 3 levels, and its structure was very unique. The hundreds of millions of true treasures that the red cloud world absorbed before are inside this tower. The tower is divided into 3 levels. The first level is the most garbage and the lowest level treasures. I can give you hundreds of thousands of such treasures, or even millions of such treasures. The second level is for ordinary level treasures, which are the strongest supreme treasures in your star field. I'll let you choose 100 of them. As for the third level, it's the strongest supreme treasure in the same level as your wings. There are only dozens of them left. I can only let you choose one. Are you satisfied? Lord Wu looked at Jian Wushuang. Yes, of course. Jian Wushuang nodded without hesitation, but he was ecstatic. Although the treasures on the first level were trash in Lord Wu's eyes, many of them were top-tier or even top-tier universe true treasures. Such true treasures were enough to drive Principal's masters crazy. Some powerful top-tier true treasures were highly valued by even the rulers in this star field. As for the second and third floors, there was no need to mention them. On the second floor, there were supreme true treasures. Any one of them was enough to make the rulers in the star field envious and even crazy. However, Lord Wu had promised Jian Wushuang a total of 100 supreme true treasures. On the third floor, there were dozens of supreme true treasures that could be compared to one principal's true treasure. Although Lord Wu had only promised to give him one more, Jian Wushuang was already very satisfied. Little guy, You can enter this tower now and choose for yourself." Lord Wu waved his hand, and the 3-story black tower began to enlarge in front of Jian Wushuang. Soon it became a towering tower that was 1,000 feet tall. Jian Wushuang did not hesitate and directly entered the tower. The first floor of the black tower was actually a dark space. Jian Wushuang did not see any supreme treasures in this dark space, but there was an extremely detailed list of supreme treasures in front of him. This list, the information was too huge. After all, there were hundreds of millions of supreme treasures here. Ordinary people would not record the information of these supreme treasures on the list. It was because Lord Wu was too bored in the Red Cloud world that he divided the levels of these supreme treasures and recorded the information of these supreme treasures. Of course, the information of these supreme treasures was only the simplest kind, which was the name of the supreme treasure and the category it belonged to. Jian Wushuang did not bother to read so much information. He chose a total of 100,000 supreme treasures at the level of a pinnacle supreme treasure. There were all kinds of supreme treasures. 100,000 pinnacle true treasures should be enough, Jian Wushuang muttered. Of course, he did not need pinnacle true treasures. But the divine beginning realm could use them. After all, the divine beginning realm had the potential threat of Devil Cloud Star, and it would not be long before the top experts of Devil Cloud Star felt that the entire divine beginning realm must unite and fight with Devil Cloud Star. At that time, the numerous principles masters of the divine beginning realm would also contribute. And these pinnacle true treasures would definitely be of great help to the numerous principles masters of the divine beginning realm. At the very least, they would be enough to raise the combat power of these principles masters by a large margin. As for the number of 100,000 true treasures, although Lord Wu said that he would be able to get hundreds of thousands or even millions of true treasures, the total number of principles masters in the divine beginning realm was estimated to be only a few thousand. There was no need for so many supreme true treasures. It was not necessarily a good thing to take too many. After choosing the first floor, Jian Wushuang quickly went to the second floor. The supreme true treasures on the second floor were all supreme true treasures. There were protective armor, domain type, flight type, soul type, and suppression type. Jian Wushuang also began to choose. The selection of these supreme true treasures was mainly for Taoist Shen God, Temporal Temple Master, Heaven-Cleaving Alliance Master, and Heaven Ancestor, as well as some Principles Masters who were at the top level of strength in the Absolute Beginning Miracle. For a ruler, having a few supreme true treasures could definitely raise his strength to a whole new level. Soon, Jian Wushuang had selected the 100 supreme treasures. Among them, the most were the offensive magic weapons and body protection armors, followed by the flying and domain supreme treasures. In total, he had selected about 40 supreme treasures. Then, Jian Wushuang entered the third floor of the tower. He was still in a dark space, and there was still a list of supreme treasures in front of him. However, the number of supreme treasures on this list was much less than the first two levels. There were less than 100 supreme treasures on this list, but there was no doubt that each supreme treasure on the third level was more valuable than the ordinary supreme treasures on the second level. The only supreme treasure on the third level that Jian Wushuang could choose was for himself. After all, although he had enough true treasures, there was still room for improvement. A good true treasure could also greatly improve his strength. For example, the celestial light wings had greatly increased his strength. Although there are not many true treasures on the third floor, there are all kinds of true treasures. Jian Wushuang looked at the information on the list with his eyes shining. Indeed, some of the supreme treasures on the list were very useful to him. For example, the magic shadow armor that Jian Wushuang saw now. According to the information on the list, although it was only a protective armor, its value was more valuable than domain type and flight type supreme treasures. The reason was that the magic shadow armor was a principal's supreme treasure. Although it was the lowest level principal's supreme treasure, its value was still very important. After several battles, the magic shadow armor became more and more valuable. The magic shadow armor was damaged time and time again, and its power was greatly weakened. Later, it was disintegrated by the bombardment. Later, someone got a piece of the magic shadow armor and refined it again, but the refining level was not good enough. The magic shadow armor had just been reduced from a principal supreme treasure to the strongest universe supreme treasure. Of course, even though it was no longer a principal supreme treasure, The power of the magic shadow armor was still far above that of ordinary supreme treasure armor. At least, it was much more powerful than Jian Wushuang's dark gold magic dragon armor. The shadow demon armor used to be a principal's supreme treasure. Even though it's not as powerful as it used to be after being broken up and refined, it still has the foundation of a principal's supreme treasure. No wonder its restrictions are much more precious than the domain type and the flight type at the same level. Jian Wushuang sighed secretly. He considered the shadow demon armor for a while, but he still gave up. After all, he had the dark gold magic dragon armor now. Although it could not protect him as well as the shadow demon armor, it was not too bad. With his divine body, he could do whatever he wanted in this star area. He didn't need to pursue a more powerful true treasure armor. As for the power of the shadow demon armor, it had to be under certain conditions. For example, he could barely activate the second level of power of the dark gold magic dragon armor, which was 30% of the power of the magic dragon. Shadow demon armor had the foundation of a principal's true treasure, so it would be even more difficult to activate its power. It was still unknown whether he could meet the requirements to activate its power. It would be best if I could choose a divine sword or a domain-type supreme treasure that is more powerful, Jian Wushuang said lightly. Needless to say, a divine sword. His netherworld divine sword was the strongest supreme treasure. With it in hand, his swordsmanship could be greatly enhanced. If it was a more powerful divine sword, then his swordsmanship would be more powerful. His power could also be enhanced to a certain extent. As for domain-type true treasures, they were also of great use to him. After all, his celestial light wings had the move of mystic light realm on his wings of heaven escape, which could be used with domain-type true treasures. Previously, he only had a pinnacle domain-type true treasure, magic sand realm, which could be used with mystic light realm, so the power was not ridiculously strong. However, if he had a domain-type supreme true treasure to complement each other, its power would naturally be stronger. I've already obtained an ordinary supreme domain-type true treasure on the second floor, but it's only an ordinary domain-type supreme true treasure. Perhaps it won't be able to exert its advantage in the domain to the maximum. If it's a supreme-grade supreme domain-type true treasure, Jian Wushuang's eyes widened. A supreme-grade supreme domain-type supreme treasure combined with the mystic light realm could suppress even a ruler at the top of the first level. Even a ruler at the second level would be greatly suppressed by his domain. Even a ruler at the top of the first level would be greatly suppressed by him. Moreover, a supreme domain-type supreme treasure had the advantage of being able to suppress many people at the same time, not just one person. Jian Wushuang was bound to have a great battle with Devil Cloudstar in the divine beginning realm. If the army of Devil Cloudstar came and suppressed the entire battlefield with a powerful domain technique, it would be enough to increase the chances of the divine beginning realm's camp winning. The supreme-grade supreme true treasure divine sword might improve my strength, but it won't be as useful as a domain-type true treasure in that great battle. If I'm lucky enough to pass the second test of the Red Cloud world, I can choose a Principal's type true treasure divine sword. A Principal's type true treasure divine sword is much more powerful than a supreme-grade supreme true treasure. Jian Wushuang muttered to himself. Soon he made up his mind. He would choose the supreme-grade domain-type supreme treasure. There were 3 supreme-grade supreme treasures in the third level. Jian Wushuang quickly picked one of them. The supreme-grade supreme treasure, triple magic light mirror. The reason why Jian Wushuang chose this near-domain-type supreme treasure was that the triple magic light mirror was not only useful for 1 level, but also 3 levels. The first level, suppression. The second level, impact. The third level, strangle. The first level, suppression, was like an ordinary domain-type true treasure. It could restrict and suppress the opponent to the greatest extent within the domain, causing the opponent's strength to be greatly reduced. Of course, the strongest domain-type true treasure at the supreme level. The suppression effect was definitely much stronger than the ordinary strongest domain-type true treasures on the second floor of the tower. The second impact was a large-scale domain impact. Of course, it was different from the normal domain impact. The domain impact of the triple magic light mirror was extremely wide and could cover an area of nearly 1,000,000 miles. It should be known that an ordinary domain-type supreme treasure could cover an area of 10,000 miles. For example, some of the most powerful domain-type supreme treasures on the second floor of the tower could only cover an area of about 100,000 miles with their full power. Only the triple magic light mirror could cover an area of 1 million miles. During the process, Jian Wushuang's soul power could also cover the beams of magic light. This was not to be underestimated. One must know that in some special places, the ability of soul perception was greatly limited. For example, in the Red Cloud world, Jian Wushuang's soul perception could only cover an area of 100,000 miles at most. If he were to be trapped in the depths of the 3 battlefields, in some extremely dangerous places, it was possible for his soul perception to be limited to a range of tens of thousands of miles or even thousands of miles. Under such circumstances, Jian Wushuang used the realm impact of the triple magic light mirror with all his strength and covered the magic light with his soul power. With the impact of the magic light, he could detect the situation within a range of 1 million miles. This was a very rare use. As for the third power strangle, it relied on the power of the realm to annihilate the experts who were trapped in the realm. With Jian Wushuang's current strength, if he used the triple magic light mirror with all his strength, he could easily kill the principal's masters. Even the weaker rulers would not be able to last long under his realm. If he used the triple magic light mirror at full strength and only targeted one person, the superior rulers would not dare to ignore the strangling power of the domain. The triple power had 3 different functions and was extremely powerful. That was why Jian Wushuang chose the triple magic light mirror. After choosing, Jian Wushuang walked out of the tower. "Lord Wu, this is the supreme treasure I picked. Please take a look." Jian Wushuang handed the list of supreme treasures he picked to Lord Wu. Lord Wu took it and nodded slightly. "You have good taste. The treasures you picked are all of the same level, especially the triple magic light mirror. It has 3 different functions and is more valuable than other supreme treasures. 10 of these treasures together should be comparable to one of the lowest level principles' supreme treasures." Hearing this, Jian Wushuang's eyes sparkled with joy. Wait a moment. Lord Wu had already chosen the treasures for Jian Wushuang according to the list. Soon, the selection was finished. "Oh, this is what you want. It's all in this interspatial ring." Lord Wu handed an interspatial ring to Jian Wushuang. After taking it, Jian Wushuang looked at it and became excited. The interspatial ring contained 100,000 supreme treasures, 100 supreme treasures, and the 3 magic light mirrors, the supreme realm's supreme treasure he had chosen from the Black Tower. "Little guy, I've given you everything. You can leave now." Lord Wu waved his hand and a complete space passage appeared in front of Jian Wushuang. "I hope you can return here soon and pass the test of the second heaven." "I will." Jian Wushuang nodded and stepped into the space passage. Soon he disappeared. Lord Wu looked at the space passage that was slowly closing. He narrowed his eyes and fell into deep thought. The vast Red Cloud world had finally calmed down. Red Rock Mountain, one of the 3 great battlefields. Since the Red Cloud world had closed, Red Rock Mountain had returned to its original appearance. Many cultivators from the star area were still wandering around Red Rock Mountain, hoping to find some opportunities and treasures. At a certain place in Red Rock Mountain, a vortex suddenly appeared in the center of the blood-red earth. The whirlpool grew bigger and bigger, and it became more and more complete like a space tunnel. This sudden change immediately attracted the attention of the 2 principals masters nearby. "What is this? A whirlpool? Could it be that a true treasure is about to be born?" The 2 principals masters, one at the pinnacle of the 4th level and the other who had just entered the 5th level, were not very powerful. At that moment, the 2 of them were standing on a piece of bloodstone, looking at the whirlpool that appeared on the ground below with great anticipation. Crimson Rock Mountain had endless opportunities, and there were many types of true treasures. The sudden change in front of their eyes made them subconsciously think that a true treasure had appeared. However, as the blood-colored whirlpool gradually completed, there were no true treasures that extended out from within. Instead, a human figure rose up. "It's out!" A hearty laughter reverberated in the world. This laughter carried a trace of joy. The 2 principals masters on the bloodstone immediately widened their eyes. "It's a human? It's actually a human. This appearance and this terrifying aura. It's the Blood Sword Master." Blood Sword Master? Didn't he return to the Star Palace long ago and has been in closed-door cultivation all these years? The two principals masters looked at each other in dismay. They could see the shock in each other's eyes. Back in the Red Cloud world, a large number of cultivators in this star field had attempted to challenge the heaven-treading mountain. And as the publicly acknowledged #1 genius of this star field, the Blood Sword Master, who possessed the battle prowess of a peak ruler at the level of a principal's master, his achievements naturally attracted the attention of many people. Everyone was speculating whether the Blood Sword Master would be able to pass the test of the heaven-treading mountain. However, there was no concrete answer. Later, news spread from the Star Palace that the Blood Sword Master had passed the trial at the foot of the mountain and the mountainside, but was defeated in the trial at the peak. After that, he left the Red Cloud world and returned to the Star Palace. He had been in seclusion in the Star Palace for the past few years. Most people chose to believe the news spread from the Star Palace. There were also a few people who still had doubts. But whether they believed it or doubted it, the Red Cloud world had been closed, so no one had any thoughts about it. But now, the two principals masters saw Jian Wushuang emerge from the underground of Red Rock Mountain. Everyone knew that the Red Cloud world was under Red Rock Mountain, but they could not enter it normally. In other words, Jian Wushuang did not leave the Red Cloud world and return to the Star Palace. He had stayed in the Red Cloud world all these years, and he did not come out of it until today. There was only one possibility for this, and that was that he passed the test of heaven-treading mountain and went to the legendary second heaven. He really passed the test of heaven-treading mountain? The Red Cloud world has been closed for a long time, but he could stay there. If he didn't pass the trial of heaven-treading mountain, he would have some special privileges. How could he do that? The two principals masters secretly sighed. They were ready to immediately tell the news to their forces so that it would be announced to the world. However, before they could send a message, a ghostly figure suddenly passed between them. Jian Wushuang, who had always been in their eyes, had disappeared. I don't have any enmity with you, but in order to avoid unnecessary trouble, I can only apologize. Jian Wushuang's voice rang in the ears of the two principals masters. The two principals masters widened their eyes and looked terrified, but their voices had been completely cut off. Jian Wushuang waved his hand and directly destroyed the divine bodies of the two principals masters. After collecting the treasures they left behind, he shook his head gently. I didn't expect to meet someone when I came out of the Red Cloud world, just like the last time when I came out of the life and death realm. However, I was too careless in the life and death realm, and I wasn't that strong back then. That's why I attracted so much trouble. But this time, there won't be any trouble. Jian Wushuang smiled. After learning from the life and death realm last time, he immediately killed the two principals masters when he came out of the Red Cloud world to make sure that they didn't have time to spread the news. It's time to go back to Star Palace. Jian Wushuang sent a message to Taoist Shen God, saying that he had come out of the Red Cloud world, and then he directly rushed out of Red Rock Mountain. The place where Jian Wushuang came out of the Red Cloud world was not the deepest part of the Red Cloud world. It was just the periphery. With his current strength, Jian Wushuang could run amok in the periphery of the Red Cloud world. He did not encounter any obstacles along the way. Soon, he left the Red Cloud world and spent some time to return to Star Palace. When he returned to Star Palace, Taoist Shen God, Temporal Temple Master, Heaven-Cleaving Alliance Master and Heaven Ancestor, who had already received the news, were already waiting for him. Jian Wushuang sat side by side with Taoist Shen God, Temporal Temple Master, Heaven-Cleaving Alliance Master, and Heaven Ancestor in a separate pocket of space-time. My young friend, you must have gained a lot from the second heaven of the Red Cloud world, right? Taoist Shen God asked with a smile. Yes. Jian Wushuang nodded. How's your strength? The Heaven-Cleaving Alliance Master asked. It's much better than before. Now I can do whatever I want in this star field. Even ordinary superior rulers can't do anything to me, Jian Wushuang said with a smile. He was being modest. In fact, during the 10,000 years in the second heaven of the Red Cloud world, he had been improving his strength, especially in sword principle, with the help of many opportunities in the second heaven. Now, His attainments in sword principle and swordsmanship were much better than those of the other rulers in this star field. In addition to the advantages of the Supreme Treasure Secret skill and other aspects, he could easily defeat ordinary superior rulers. Even if Jian Wushuang was not absolutely sure that he could defeat the second-level ruler Kuan Yu, who was widely recognized as the first ruler in the star field, as long as he was given some time, if he could master the first volume of the dragon-killing secret skill, it would be easy for him to defeat the ruler Kuan Yu. Of course, Jian Wushuang still hid some of his absolute strength from the Taoist Shen God and the others. By the way, for of you, I have brought a surprise for you after coming back from the Red Cloud world, Jian Wushuang suddenly said.